Nestled in the woodlands along Oregon's northern coast is HGTV's Dream Home 2000. This unique contemporary home will be given away in HGTV's Dream Home 2000 giveaway. Don't miss HGTV's Dream Home 2000, a special presentation, premiering Sunday night at 9 on HGTV.
The following HGTV special presentation is in celebration of Black History Month.
They are the homes of great African American leaders. From humble cottages to stately mansions, these were the dwellings of civil rights activists, educators, capitalists, and composers. The homes of true visionaries. These are the homes of our heritage.
Welcome to Homes of Our Heritage. I'm Edie Ellis. America is a melting pot, with every ethnic group adding its own contribution. African Americans have influenced business, music, civil rights, all aspects of society. And in the homes of history's great African American leaders, we can see their aspirations. These homes were cherished as safe harbors in times of trouble and as treasured rewards from lifetimes of hard work. One of the most inspirational homes belonged to one of America's earliest and most important civil rights leaders, the Washington, D.C. home of Frederick Douglass.
In 1877, Washington, D.C. was the capital of a nation rebuilding from civil war and enjoying a new birth of freedom. On a hill overlooking the city sat a Victorian manor, a home of elegance and distinction. The prominence of the man who lived here came not from wealth, but from the strength of his convictions and the eloquence of his words. This was the home of Frederick Douglass, a runaway slave who became an abolitionist, an ambassador, an advisor to presidents, and one of the greatest African American leaders our nation has ever known.
Mr. Douglass did a lot for America. I believe Mr. Douglass, if anything, gave people motivation not to accept anything in life. I believe that he gave America inspiration that you can do something, regardless of your color, regardless of your sex.
Frederick Douglass escaped to freedom as a young man, then dedicated his life to ending slavery. He gave fiery speeches, started an abolitionist newspaper called the North Star, and wrote an autobiography to tell of his experience as a slave. His words had enormous impact on public opinion leading up to the Civil War. In 1877, with the war over, Douglass purchased this home in the well-to-do Washington neighborhood of Anacostia with the earnings from his speeches. Built in the 1850s, the 21-room mansion sat on 9 acres and was called Cedar Hill for the cedar trees on the lawn. Originally, a covenant prohibited any minority ownership of the home, but the home's owner went bankrupt, and Douglass was able to buy Cedar Hill from the bank.
When you think about that and think about Mr. Douglass coming from a time in his life where he was a slave to have broken that barrier and have been the first African American to move in this prestigious neighborhood, which was an all-white suburb, was quite a great accomplishment. So I think that just that says a lot.
In decorating his home, Douglas and his wife Helen embraced the style of the Victorian era. Guests were received by a butler and then ushered into the East Parlor, where their hats were hung on a stand made from bullhorns. The wallpaper featured a border of stenciled palms, a motif from Douglas's term as ambassador to Haiti. Douglas enjoyed challenging guests to checkers on a set he made himself. Dinner guests were shown to the dining room, the largest room in the house. Here, Douglas served 4-course meals on the finest Limoges china.
Well, I think the symbolism in the room is showing you how life has truly changed for Douglas. By this time, Douglas has accomplished a very lot. We have a picture hanging over the fireplace of Douglas in a very high position at this point, because basically he is part of the Presidential Inauguration Committee of Benjamin Harrison. And that's quite a bit different from his meager start as a slave.
In an elegant finale to the meal, tea was served from a sterling silver tea set that was a gift from Queen Victoria of England, an admirer of Douglas. Like the Queen, many important people presented Douglas with gifts. This writing desk was a present from Harriet Beecher Stowe, author of Uncle Tom's Cabin. And this German clock, carved out of a solid piece of wood, was presented to Douglas by the German author Ottilia Ossing, who admired his support of women's rights. Frederick Douglass was proud to live in such a luxurious home. But to him, true riches lay in one room only: the library. With a collection of more than 1,000 books and a personal printing press for letters and stationery, this room was devoted to the treasures of reading and writing.
Well, literacy, of course, changed his life. The ability to read and write, that he caught on very early when he was living in Baltimore, that being able to read was going to be the key to his success.
Douglas spent nearly 6 hours a day in front of the library's wood stove, sitting at his roll-top desk, in the leather chair he had used in his office at the Capitol. This is where Frederick Douglass put his deeply held beliefs to paper, writing the words that tore at the conscience of America.
Well, I think it was because of his heart. Douglass truly felt what he was talking about. And because of that, he could speak from the heart and speak from experience.
Frederick Douglass was a shining light that guided the conscience of America. And like a beacon on a hill, his home signaled to other African Americans the promise and opportunity that lay ahead.
I believe that this home itself says that it can be done. You can be at a dark point in your life. People can tell you all your life that you will never succeed. This home itself says achievement.
Next, the woman who led hundreds to freedom on the Underground Railroad finds a safe harbor of her own. The home of Harriet Tubman, when Homes of Our Heritage continues.
Meet people who followed their dreams and now are living the good life. Sunday night at 10:30 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
Do you want your parties to be really special? Try Rocher, the European speciality your guests will adore. Smooth chocolate, crunchy hazelnut, a luxurious taste sensation. It's more of a party with Rocher.
Beam Central Cleaning Systems don't look like your typical vacuum cleaner, and they don't act like one either. Beam cleans your entire house from top to bottom without the weight and bulk of portable vacuums. And unlike portables, Beam Central Cleaning Systems whisk dirt away from the room, trapping it for healthier indoor air. Increase the value of your home automatically. Add the power and convenience of Beam, the world's #1 central cleaning system.
I was miserable. My antacid didn't do the whole job. Then I tried Alka-Seltzer.
Only Alka-Seltzer relieves heartburn and pain and has the effervescent power to speed relief.
It made a believer out of me.
Get better relief. Get Alka-Seltzer.
HGTV invites you to an incredible Saturday night of decorating tips, ideas, and inspiration. Tonight, hi, I'm Joan Steffen, and on the next Decorating Sense, we will finish off a combination kitchen and family room, giving it a woodsy country look with honeysuckle vines and oak leaf stands. Then at 9, room by room will make an old bedroom new again. A whole night of shows that are just your style. Design Time Saturday night, tonight, only on Home and Garden Television.
Welcome back to Homes of Our Heritage. I'm Edie Ellis. Before the Civil War, a network of Americans put their lives on the line to help runaway slaves reach freedom in the North. It was called the Underground Railroad, and one of its most important conductors was Harriet Tubman. Accustomed to living on the road, Harriet Tubman finally settled into a home of her own in Auburn, New York. But in characteristic style, she turned her home into another vehicle for helping others.
This simple wood frame home in upstate New York was a place where freedom rang for a woman who dedicated her life to bringing liberty to all. It was the home of Harriet Tubman, a former slave who risked her life to lead more than 300 people to freedom on the Underground Railroad.
I believe that her legacy could be summed up in the statement that she made when she said, keep going. You know, if you're tired, keep going. If you're scared, keep going. If you're hungry, keep going. If you want to taste freedom, keep going.
In a home outside Auburn, New York, Harriet Tubman finally found a softer place to lay her head. In 1896, with money from the sales of her biography, Tubman purchased 26 acres and this small but sturdy house.
Being in slavery, born into slavery, never seeing African Americans acquire land and be able to make the land work for them, probably was one of the reasons why she wanted to be free, so that she could have something that she could call her own.
This home was her own, but Tubman didn't keep it to herself. She established a home for the aged, sheltering up to 10 poor residents at a time.
I'd say she was very excited about having a home so that she could take care of these people, these slaves that came to her and wanted help.
The kitchen was the heart of Tubman's home. It featured a cork-insulated icebox and a standalone cupboard instead of cabinets. Here, Tubman cooked for the residents, but it wasn't a burden. Every day in her own home was a reminder of the joys of freedom.
Don't have to ask anybody or don't have to report to anybody. I think it was just been a wonderful thing for her.
The residents ate together in the dining room, which was neatly decorated with a table and matching oak sideboard. After After dinner, they gathered in the parlor, which was heated by a Franklin stove, which functioned like a standalone fireplace. The room featured a red velvet love seat in the Eastlake style, an Empire mahogany table, a kerosene Rochester lamp, and a walnut side table. Here, residents listened to stories about Harriet Tubman's heroic work during the Civil War.
I think to her having a home, especially a home in a free country, was probably the highest reward in life she could have.
At the end of the day, Harriet Tubman retired to her bedroom, decorated with a chestnut bed from the 1870s and a simple kitchen chair. It was a room of her own, a symbol of the freedom she had strived for.
I think it was the greatest honor that she could have, to be able to claim a piece of America. I think she not only claimed it for herself, but for her people as well.
After risking her life to lead others to freedom, Harriet Tubman devoted her home to caring for others. Her reward was beautiful in its simplicity. A wood frame home and a piece of land to call her own. Next, the construction of this home provided skills, jobs, and inspiration to a whole generation of African Americans. The home of educator Booker T. Washington, when Homes of Our Heritage continues.
Let's get together for a little romance. Romance Week on HGTV.
All next week.
For the last 29 years, American Pest Control has been taking care of all your pest control needs. Generation after generation, we've been serving you with a smile. We work hard to make sure your family has the quality pest control services they need. We look forward to serving you and your family for generations to come. American Pest Control. Quality service, past, present,
I love you.
I love you too.
Come on, let's do it then.
All brain cells to battle stations in conflict.
We love each other. Why not?
Girl, we are only 15.
We could get pregnant.
Half of teen pregnancies occur within 6 months of first sexual intercourse.
But it feels right.
One word.
Not to mention syphilis, gonorrhea.
We don't want to lose them.
Just tell the truth.
You love them?
But we're not ready.
Okay, that makes sense.
I want to wait.
Do you want your parties to be really special? Try Rocher, the European speciality your guest will adore. Smooth chocolate, crunchy hazelnut, a luxurious taste sensation. It's more of a party with Rocher.
Ma'am, I'm stopping you for speeding.
Me?
Radar doesn't lie.
Well, actually, traffic radar, unlike airport radar, doesn't give the location of a target, just a speed. You see, traffic radar goes in a fan pattern at an angle between 11 and 18 degrees. And did you know that radar guns can lower your sperm count? You be careful out there.
Radar love.
Rediscover the skin nature intended you to have with Aveeno Daily Moisturizing Lotion. Made with oatmeal, which holds moisture naturally, Aveeno lasts for 24 hours. Aveeno. Discover nature's secret for healthy skin.
Monitoring your health is important, so is knowing what to do with the results. That's why at the Medicine Shop Pharmacy...
Okay, Betty. Based on your last few readings, let's see if your doctor wants to adjust your medication.
We help you make healthy choices, from understanding screening results to using prescriptions and other healthcare products.
The Medicine Shop Pharmacy, the pharmacy that's all about your health. Come to the Medicine Shop Pharmacy to learn if you're at risk for a heart attack or diabetes. Call 1-800-677-0770 for a participating location.
Welcome back. I'm Edie Ellis. After the Civil War, African Americans faced a world full of promise, but they needed new skills to open doors of opportunity. Educator Booker T. Washington gave them the tools to succeed when he built a university and later a home from the ground up.
The bricks and mortar of this Tuskegee, Alabama home were the building blocks of a new life. Built for legendary educator Booker T. Washington in 1899, its construction provided training and opportunity to countless African Americans. Its foundation was the vision of Booker T. Washington.
Dr. Washington is the only black leader to have a period of history designated in his honor. In black history, the period between 1881 and 1915 is called the age of Booker T. Washington.
Born a slave himself, Washington was determined to share the gift of knowledge. As a young man in 1881, Booker T. Washington founded Alabama's Tuskegee Institute to provide classroom and vocational training to African Americans. In 1899, Washington began constructing a home suitable for a university president, one that would also build futures. An African-American architect named Robert Taylor designed Washington a fashionable Queen Anne Victorian with turrets and patterned shingles. Washington also employed Tuskegee students, teaching them construction skills from the ground up.
They made their own bricks. They made 3 attempts to build a kiln to fire the bricks, and the 3rd time they struck out. And then Booker T. Washington, he went to the city and gave up his watch so that he could get the money so that they could try to build the kiln one more time, and the 4th time, that's when it worked.
Inside the house, the students trained in every aspect of home building. The wood paneling and the balustrade were carved by hand from the oak trees that covered the property. In honor of these trees and the fine woodwork, Washington named his home the Oaks. Students also made the furniture. The library was designed for the comfort of Washington's wife, Margaret.
Margaret was reported to be 4'11", so she was a very short woman. She also had a bad back. The students custom designed these 2 chairs specifically for Margaret. You'll notice how low they are to the ground, that there are slight curvatures in the backs of the chairs.
When it was completed, the parlor featured murals of the European countryside by artist E.W. Borman. Built by African Americans, the home was designed to impress Tuskegee's wealthy supporters, from Andrew Carnegie to President Teddy Roosevelt. And it also made an impression on Booker T. Washington's most important audience, African Americans.
Booker T. Washington thought that the sight of this first-class home to be a more powerful tool than anything that he could teach them from a book. This home not only provided him a dwelling for he and his family, but it also served as an example that they too could obtain the same things by obtaining their education here at Tuskegee Institute.
Thousands of students were inspired, and gifts of gratitude filled Booker T. Washington's study. This settee was handmade for Washington by his students, and the teakwood desk and chair were a gift from the parents of a Japanese student. The The hand-carved Chinese desk and chair were gifts from his wife, Margaret, who paid the costly sum of $1,500 to show her admiration of her husband's work.
Grandfather would said, not having an ancestry of my own, I resolved long ago to leave a record of which my children would be proud and aspire them to greater effort. So when I see things like the carved furnishings or any of the other gifts given for the work done, it's an inspiration.
Booker T. Washington's home was the symbol of his inspired love for education. Living here, he was surrounded by the work of his students. In return, Booker T. Washington offered the gift of knowledge to generations of African Americans.
This is where the family was. This is where peace was. It was where people could come if they had nowhere else to go. And it was a pride to him because the students built it. It was home. I don't think there's a stronger word to use in describing his feelings than home.
Next, the rags to riches tale of the first woman bank president in America. The Virginia home of African-American businesswoman Maggie Walker, when Homes of Our Heritage continues.
Trying to balance the latest decorating trends with your own personal tastes? Let HGTV's experts lend you a hand. Dare to go wherever your imagination takes you. Design at 9, weeknights at 9, only on HGTV.
We interrupt this program for an important news brief. MCI Now offers 5 cents a minute every day, so you can call every evening and all weekend long. Bugs?
This is big news.
Right, Bugs. Just 5 cents. Mere change.
Change is good.
To sign up, just punch in 1-800 every day.
If I punch. Ow. Man, what a ham.
Call 1-800 every day to join.
So, you've managed to point and click your way into too much debt.
Why not point and click your way out of debt with a second mortgage from Ditech.com? Whether you have equity or no equity, good credit or not so good credit, Ditech has a second mortgage with absolutely no closing costs to help you lower your monthly payments now. So point and click your way out of high-interest, non-tax deductible credit card debt at Ditech.com.
Or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED. Ditech.com.
Manicure, $15. Lace skirt, $85. Vintage evening bag, $60. Look on old boyfriend's face at the reunion, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Accepted all over, even beauty salons.
Hurry, we'll miss kickoff.
Wait! Want a quick bite? Fruit, chips, roast Cornish game ham with baked potatoes, T-bone steak, clams on the half shell.
Huh?
Introducing a whole new way to cook, the Advantium oven from GE. It uses the power of light to cook in a fraction of the time. Food that used to take over an hour now takes 15 minutes. Baked potatoes, 10. And unlike with microwave ovens, it's crispy and juicy. The new Advantium from GE.
I think we're a little early.
Cooking at the speed of life.
Welcome back to Homes of Our Heritage. America is the land of opportunity. We admire savvy people who make their fortunes in business. Well, Maggie Walker did more than make her fortune. She helped thousands of other African Americans save for the future at her bank. And her home was the cornerstone of a thriving African American neighborhood.
It was a perfect home for a bank president at the turn of the 20th century. Respectable and stately. the Richmond, Virginia establishment held no dominion here. For in this neighborhood called Jackson Ward, in the heart of the former Confederate capital, a revolution was underway. It was an economic revolution led by the owner of the largest house on the block, a bank president, an African American, and a woman, Maggie Walker.
She was a Moses for the black community. Her motivation was to improve the standards of living for minorities and get them educated.
Maggie Walker educated African Americans about finance and business through the Order of St. Luke's, an African American financial society that promoted financial independence. We can turn our pennies into dollars, she claimed. And in 1903, Maggie Walker, the child of a former slave, became the first female bank president in the country. To reflect her new prominence, Maggie Walker needed a new home. In 1904, she and her husband Armistead purchased this 1883 house. It was furnished in the middle-class style of the time, with polished woodwork and porcelain knickknacks.
Also demonstrated to her constituents that, yes, I've succeeded, and I keep telling you, here I am, I've succeeded, you can succeed.
Signs of success were everywhere. The front hall featured silver wallpaper with a flower medallion design, typical of the early 1900s. In the parlor, the drapery cornice was gilded to match the central pier mirror between the bay windows. Like many ambitious homeowners, Walker chose certain luxuries purely for show. She purchased this Chicago-made baby grand piano even though she didn't play. And in the library, she loaded her oak barrister's bookcases with books that were bought by the yard, a common practice at the time.
You would call your bookseller and say, well, I've got 50 yards of bookshelves. And they would bring you 50 yards of books.
Walker often used the cozy library to entertain business associates, then offered them dinner at a mahogany table under a fringed chandelier. The elegant rooms represented Maggie Walker's position as an important leader in the African American community. Upstairs reflected her other role, that of mother and grandmother. Maggie and Armistead Walker had 2 sons. They were so close that as adults, they lived in Maggie's house with their families. Her grandchildren were her pride and joy.
Every time a grandchild was born, you could count on 2 or 3 rooms being added to Maggie Walker's house. So as the family grew, so did the house.
By 1922, the Walkers had expanded the home from 9 rooms to 28.
At a time when most African Americans, and for that matter most Americans in general, did not have a middle-class background, she who came from poverty succeeded. And the house demonstrates that.
This home was part of Maggie Walker's promise to fellow African Americans, a promise that hard work and savings could lead to a better life, that turning pennies into dollars could turn dreams into reality. Coming up, the melodies that flowed from this St. Louis apartment changed the tune of American music. The home of ragtime composer Scott Joplin, when Homes of Our Heritage continues.
Nestled in the Pacific Northwest is HGTV's Dream Home 2000, premiering Sunday night at 9 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
Now, an HGTV on-location update.
This is the International Houseware Show 2000, where manufacturers are showcasing new products for the home. Appliances like microwaves and space heaters are being introduced in bold colors and space-age designs. We'll give you a sneak preview coming soon on HGTV.
Do you want your parties to be really special? Try Rocher, the European speciality your guests will adore. Smooth chocolate, crunchy hazelnut, a luxurious taste sensation. It's more of a party with Rocher.
There are some things canister and upright vacuums weren't made to clean. So get rid of that big lug and get a lightweight Beam Central Cleaning System instead. From floor to ceiling to everything in between, Beam cleans fast and conveniently, removing all allergens on contact for healthier indoor air. Whether your home is just going up or just getting comfortable, you can enjoy all the benefits of Beam, the world's #1 central cleaning system.
Yoo-hoo! Ready?
Ready for a better way to get my fiber.
Use your concentration.
New Phillips Fiber Caps don't contain sweeteners like most powders. They're concentrated, so they're just as effective as Metamucil. New Phillips Fiber Caps, effective fiber therapy without the powder.
Virginia is offering special packages for you and someone you love. Packages include lodging for 3 days and 2 nights, plus admission to Virginia's famous garden and historic home tours. You'll also receive dining and shopping discounts. Packages start as low as $1.99 per person. Visit us on the web at virginia.org.
Welcome back to the Homes of Our Heritage. American music is loved around the world for its unique sound. A sound that music historians say has an undeniable African-American influence. One of the most important African-American musicians of the 1900s was ragtime composer Scott Joplin. From a small apartment in St. Louis, he wrote the songs that got the whole world swinging.
At the turn of the 20th century in St. Louis, it was fashionable to two-step to the popular marches of the day. But in the dance halls and clubs of the African-American community, people were swinging to an exciting new beat. They called it ragtime, a syncopated blend of African rhythms and Western European styles. And no one could play it like the king of ragtime composers, Scott Joplin.
During the time that he was living here, I kind of tend to see this as Joplin moved in here and he was watching his ship come across the harbor and it docked finally.
When Scott Joplin arrived in St. Louis, his years as a struggling musician were about to end. His song, The Maple Leaf Rag, composed the year before, was a hit. And he could finally afford to move into the first home of his own. In 1900, he and his wife Belle rented a 4-room upstairs apartment in this 2-story brick row house. Built in 1868 by a German physician, the Joplin's apartment reflected the Victorian good life. They had horsehair furniture, which was popular among well-heeled people of the day. An upright piano stood against the wall. Gas lamps in the hallway lit the way to a modern kitchen, complete with an iron stove and icebox. At home, home, he spent hours at this roll-top desk, putting the music in his mind down on paper. Joplin's goal was to elevate ragtime from popular music to a classical form. He was obsessed with silencing the critics who referred to ragtime as the ragweed of music.
He wanted to turn it into a classical form. He did want it to be the type of music that not only you just dance to, that you could sit down and actually listen to, and listen to it as a concert.
In this apartment, he would accomplish his goal. Here, Scott Joplin wrote some of his best compositions, including Sunflower Slow Drag, the Ragtime Dance, and his most famous tune of all, The Entertainer.
Joplin was astoundingly successful for a black man at the time that he was living. If his goal had been to be popular, he would have considered himself a thundering success.
In 1903, Joplin moved out of this apartment and bought a large 13-room home a few blocks away. But it was in this apartment that his career was launched, setting the stage for the great crescendo in the life of Scott Joplin. Still ahead, the daughter of a poor sharecropper became a national voice for education. The home of Mary McLeod Bethune, next on Homes of Our Heritage.
Overactive bladder.
That strong, sudden urge.
Having to go so often. The fear of wedding accidents.
If you're one of the millions who live with some of these symptoms, get a pencil. We've got a free offer and important information. Overactive bladder is a medical condition, and your doctor has treatments that can help.
Need a break?
I can wait.
These treatments can help reduce the symptoms of an overactive bladder. You want to go back?
In a while.
To receive a free brochure about treating overactive bladder, call 1-888-652-4422 now. That's 1-888-652-4422. You'll also receive a valuable money-saving offer, plus a free booklet with this symptom questionnaire to help you prepare for your doctor visit. Remember, overactive bladder is a treatable medical condition, so call 1-888-652-4422 now for your free information.
Do you want your parties to be really special? Try Rocher, the European speciality your guests will adore. Smooth chocolate, crunchy hazelnut, a luxurious taste sensation. It's more of a party with Rocher.
Yoo-hoo! Ready to go shopping?
Ready for a better way to get my fiber.
You'll have to concentrate.
Huh?
Concentrate on these new Phillips fiber caps.
New Phillips fiber caps don't contain sweeteners like most powders. They're the most concentrated fiber you can get, so they're just as effective as Metamucil.
And there's no sweeteners.
How do you know all that?
I use my concentration.
New Phillips fiber caps, effective fiber therapy without the powder.
When was the last time you felt the power of a mountain, the romance of a train, or the unexpected warmth of a stranger's smile? When was the last time you spotted orcas at play, or remembered how to spell Aurora Borealis? And when was the last time you felt so inspired by the simple act of looking out your window? Holland, America. It's time.
Neutrogena hand cream, developed in Norway for Arctic fishermen to protect their hands. 5 years of clinical tests prove it works better at rapidly healing dry skin and at retaining moisture longer. That's why it's trusted by dermatologists. Neutrogena hand cream, it works better.
Welcome back. I'm Edie Ellis. Many African American leaders achieved prominence through boundless energy, struggle, and determination. Mary McLeod Bethune is a perfect example. The daughter of a poor sharecropper, she founded a university and became an advisor to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, all because she was driven to make a difference. And she did, to thousands of young students who were always welcome in her Florida home.
Like the Spanish moss clinging to live oak trees, tradition has a hold on the Deep South. But in this Daytona Beach, Florida home in the early 1900s lived a catalyst for change. This was the home of Mary McLeod Bethune, one of the most important African-American leaders of the 20th century. A child of former slaves, Bethune founded a college, advised several presidents, and in this home built a life her parents could only dream of.
So I think she was proud of this house for that reason. I mean, she was a proud black woman, and she understood that she was blessed, and she wanted to share that blessing, and she saw this house as a part of that.
Born in 1875 in this sharecropper's cabin, Bethune was the first person in her family to learn to read. She went to college on scholarship, and in 1904, with $1.50 endowment, founded the school that would become Bethune-Cookman College. Mary McLeod Bethune was the lifeblood of the school, and her home was at its heart. Built for Bethune in 1915 by wealthy Northern supporters, the two-story frame home was a cross between a bungalow and a colonial. The home featured beautiful hardwood floors in a square within a square pattern, and tiles in the hearth in a log cabin design. The furnishings were tributes of respect.
People gave her things. She was very impressive, very believable. When she stated what she had in her heart and mind to do, you believed it. And sometimes without asking, you just wanted to help her.
Some people donated furniture of great value, like this china hutch from oil baron John D. Rockefeller. But the more modest gifts were also treasured, like dozens of carved elephants.
She said the elephant was so huge. He was so strong. The face was so gentle. She liked that. And so she would encourage others to, maybe, I guess, have the elephant as a model. Be kind, be gentle.
In an upstairs bedroom, Bethune lined the walls with photos of her famous supporters. But to her students, Mary McLeod Bethune's greatest influence was in this home.
She would come out on the little veranda upstairs, and she would say something like, "Hello, my darlings. How are you today?" And she was known as Mother Bethune by scores of people. You felt like she was your mother away from home.
Mother Bethune nurtured generations of African Americans who otherwise might not have had the opportunity to go to college. From her home in the heart of campus, Mary McLeod Bethune made a home in higher education for everyone. When we come back, we'll visit the childhood home of one of America's greatest visionaries, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., when Homes of Our Heritage continues. If you have questions or comments, we'd like to hear from you. Write us at Homes of African American Visionaries, care of HGTV, Box 50970, Knoxville, Tennessee 37950. Please be sure to include your daytime phone number.
Are you tired of cleaning over and over again, only to have the same old stains come right back? Then don't clean your kitchen or bathroom. Zap it! Presenting Zap 2000, the professional strength restorer used by contractors for over 7 years. Zap 2000 is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Just pour it on, let it sit, and wipe it off. And in minutes, your surfaces are back like new. Zap 2000 is a restorer, not a cleaner. Ordinary cleaners only work on surface dirt, but Zap 2000 actually penetrates stains to restore surfaces to their original new shine.
You pour it out, you leave it set. There's no rubbing, there's no scrubbing. You go back a couple of minutes later and you just wipe it up and it's all done.
This shower head is clogged with hard water and mineral deposits, but look, after just one application with Zap 2000, it's restored like new. And watch as Zap 2000 goes to work on this old garden shovel. Years of rust just melt away. Zap 2000 with its fresh wintergreen scent works on porcelain, chrome, fiberglass, toilet bowls, rust, even hard water stains. In fact, Zap 2000 is so effective, it's guaranteed to remove any stain from any of these surfaces or your money back.
It restored my grout to bright white. It cleaned my tile, the bathroom surfaces. It lifted that soap scum off, cleaned the hard water stains, the rust, and the smell is fantastic.
Zap 2000 is so concentrated, just one bottle replaces over $50 worth of ordinary cleaners. Call now and receive Zap 2000 Restorer plus Zap 2000 Easy Spray Cleaner and 2 industrial Zap pads, all for only $19.95. But wait, call in the next 5 minutes and we'll double your order for free. That's right, 4 bottles of Zap 2000 for only $19.95. Operators are standing by, so call the toll-free number or send check or money order to Zap 2000, Box 2220, Agora Hills, California, 91376. Remember, call in the next 5 minutes to receive 2 free bottles of Zap 2000. Order now.
Here are the events for the week of January 31st through February 6th.
Welcome back to Homes of Our Heritage. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is widely considered the most important civil rights leader in our nation's history. His inspirational vision had its early foundation in the lessons of his youth, learned from a strong family in a loving home.
In the 1920s and 30s, Auburn Street in Atlanta was a thriving African-American neighborhood. It was one of the most affluent African-American streets in the country. People who lived here called it Sweet Auburn. It was here in this home in the heart of Sweet Auburn that Martin Luther King Jr. was born.
As a child, what we get about Dr. King is how normal he was. Like, he liked playing football and baseball. He enjoyed picking on his sister. That's something all brothers like to do. Dr. King wasn't anything special growing up, and that means anybody can become great and anybody can bring about changes if they just decide that's what they're going to do and work toward doing it.
501 Auburn was a 9-room Queen Anne Victorian. Built in 1895, it boasted sculpted wood shingles, ornate scroll work, a large front veranda, and a smaller second-floor porch characteristic of this style of house. Painted mustard yellow with dark brown trim, it was a proper home for a respected minister. In 1909, Dr. King's grandparents, the Reverend and Mrs. A.D. Williams, purchased the home and moved in. When Dr. King's parents, Alberta and Martin Luther King Sr., were married, they moved into an upstairs bedroom of the family home. A walnut-stained pine chifforobe served as the couple's closet. It was here that Martin Luther King Jr. was born, as his father, known as Daddy King, paced in the hallway.
When the doctor came out and told him that it was the son, which was Martin, they tell the story of Daddy King being so happy and so proud that he actually jumped and touched the ceiling. And the ceiling on the second floor is about 10.5 feet tall, and Daddy King was about 5'6", so we figure he was either a very, very happy man or he told a very tall story.
Dr. King grew up surrounded by many fine furnishings. The elegant parlor had floor-length lace curtains, a red velvet settee adorned with white lace doilies, and an upright piano, an instrument Dr. King and his brother A.D. did all they could to avoid practicing.
Martin and A.D. got a hammer and a screwdriver and loosened up the bolts, so when the instructor came, the piano collapsed, the stool collapsed. A.D. felt that a piano that wasn't tuned, you can't take lessons, so he got a hammer and began banging on the keys, and the white ivory of the middle C is missing. Piano lessons didn't stop, but they tried everything they could to get out taking piano lessons.
Despite some formal furnishings, the home was meant for family. 3 generations lived under one roof, and Dr. King and his brothers shared a bedroom with their uncle. Here they played childhood games and littered the floor between the simple beds with marbles, tinker toys, and books. Meals in the dining room were a fairly formal affair, as was customary in the 1930s. The Kings set their table with Japanese porcelain plates and a white damask tablecloth, but the atmosphere of the room was friendly and lively.
Normally in the 1930s, children weren't allowed at the dinner table. They said, look, at a children's table. But Daddy King felt that the children should be a part of the conversation, and said a lot what he learned about what was going on in the community, as well as the world, was learned at the dinner table.
After dinner, the Kings gathered in the family room. Here they listened to the radio and sat in carved high-back chairs to play games at a game table with graceful curved legs. Daddy King was the champion of Chinese checkers, but there was serious work done here too. Dr. King and the children read books, while Daddy King sat at this oak desk and wrote his Sunday sermon. Daddy King's sermon was delivered at nearby Ebenezer Baptist Church. As a child, this was Martin Luther King's second home.
Christine, his sister, tells stories of Martin and Alfred getting up there in the pulpit and practicing, you know, imitating their father.
Like the Ebenezer Baptist Church, the home on Auburn Street was an inseparable part of the King family. And to young Martin Luther King Jr., it was a cherished piece of his childhood.
He was a typical boy growing up, a holy terror, you know, and he just grew up to be a man who did extraordinary things. And that's not only in Dr. King, that's in all of us.
Martin Luther King Jr. lived in this home for the first 12 years of his life. It was a home filled with family, ideals, and love. A home that shaped a true American visionary.
These African Americans made lasting contributions to our nation, and their visions for the country often took shape in their homes. Homes that were personal places, filled with the warmth of family and loved ones. Today, their homes stand as monuments to their hopes and dreams, their goals and achievements. I'm Edie Ellis. Thank you for watching.
Here's what's coming up tonight on HGTV's Design Time Saturday night. At 8 on Kitty Bartholomew Your Home, take a truly modern approach to decorating using vintage furniture. At 8:30 on Decorating Sense with Joan Stefford, how to give your home some natural beauty using greenery and foliage. Then at 9 on Room by Room, Matt and Sherry demonstrate how to dress up an old dresser to give your bedroom a new look. At 9:30 on Room for Change, a 1940s suburban home is transformed into a hip New York-style loft. Then at 10 on Interiors by Design with Chris Cass-Madden, the do's and don'ts of Art Deco. And at 10:30 on Bed and Bath Design, how to use etched, stained, and laminated glass to make a truly unique bathroom. It's all coming up on HGTV's Design Time Saturday night.
To our viewers, Home and Garden Television is celebrating 5 wonderful years. HGTV, imagine what you can do.
My wife bought this horse at an antique store for about $200. We don't know very much about it. That's why we brought it to the appraisal fair.
Will he ride off with a winner? Find out along with him. Then you get to unravel the mystery of what the heck this is. And of all the things people bring us, see what we pick as our unique find of the day. Come along and join us at the appraisal fair. Appraisal Fair. I'm Leslie Heinman, and I'm at Navy Pier on Chicago's beautiful lakefront, the perfect location for our appraisal fair. We've set up our fair inside the magnificent Crystal Garden at Navy Pier, amid the fountains and palm trees. People from all over are bringing us their personal treasures and family heirlooms and stuff they've kept in the attic for years. They're here to get a free appraisal from our staff of experts who are going to tell them how much their things are worth. There are a lot of surprises in store. Let's look in on our first appraisal.
Hello, Arnold.
Hi, Dick. How are you?
Fine. And you?
Fine.
This is a great little ring you brought today. Where did you get it?
It was a gift to my wife many years ago. My wife was a family counselor, and one of her clients, unknown to me, gave it to her as a thank you present.
Well, it's a real pretty ring. The first thing I noticed with it is it's a gorgeous colored sapphire. And it's made by Tiffany & Company. And the diamonds are also very fine quality. And also another indicator to me was the fact that the diamonds are old mine cut, which puts the origin of the ring back in the 1800s. So it's an old piece. It's an antique ring. And even though it's stamped Tiffany inside, there's no gold caratage stamp, so I can't tell whether it's 14 karat or 18 karat gold. So I'd like to test that if I could for you.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. The way I do that is I take the ring and I make a little scratch, rub a little metal off onto this piece of black glass. Then I take these acids that have been specially formulated just for this, and I put a little touch of the one acid on the metal, and I look to see whether or not it dissolves the metal, and it did. So I know this isn't 18 karat gold.
Okay.
So I take the next one, and I again touch the metal, and I give it another look, and I can see that the 14 karat gold acid did not dissolve the metal. So we know that this is a 14 karat gold ring.
All right.
And I gauged the stones to measure their diameter and their depth. And I can tell you've got about a 3/4 carat sapphire, and you've got about 3/4 of carats with all the diamonds that are set around the ring and in the shank. And being from Tiffany & Company, that increases the value of it. In fact, considerably. But I came up with a price on this piece, and I want to say that this piece is worth about $3,000.
Oh my gosh, and I brought it down here as an afterthought.
It was a good afterthought.
Oh my, I had no idea.
Uh-huh.
I'm absolutely amazed.
Okay, I understand you're from the California area.
That's
you were born
right.
and raised in the California area, and this plaque is from that area too. So, do you know anything about the history of this plaque?
Well, I do. It's very near and dear to my heart. In fact, I was born in California, as you said, as was my mother.
Okay.
And she gave this to me
Okay.
on my wedding. And it's something that she brought back from the island, Catalina Island.
Okay. It is Catalina Island pottery. About 1927, William Wrigley Jr. Purchased a good portion of the island and everything around it. And they started a small pottery that made tiles and clay because the clay was so good in the area. It was a really dark brown clay that lent itself quite well to making pottery. The pottery flourished till about 1932 when they switched over to a different kind of clay. They switched from a dark brown or reddish brown clay to a white clay. And that helps date these pieces. I noticed that it was made from brown clay.
Right.
That's the basic body of it. And it's covered with sort of a thick, creamy colored glaze to cover up that real dark brown clay. So we can kind of date it between 1927 and 1932. The dinnerware sets right now are becoming very, very difficult to find, especially putting together a complete dinnerware set. But the plaques, the accessory pieces, ashtrays, pitcher and bowls, things like that are becoming extremely pricey also. Now, I'm going to give you a price on this, and I don't know what your mother paid for it. I don't know what you would think it's worth, but I would say about 20 years ago, you could probably pick a plaque like this up for around $10 to $15. Today, a plaque like this, and you might see this at auction, because some of the art pottery auction companies are bringing Catalina pottery to the forefront in their auction catalogs because it is so desirable. You would probably see a plaque like this in the $450 to $500 price range. Does that surprise you?
Well, it does. Well, probably the plate, I don't know, costs $1 or
yeah.
$5.
Right, right.
So, well, that's good
Okay.
information, and I'm so glad to have it, and
Well, thank
happy
you.
my mother had a good time in Catalina.
Well, thank you for bringing it.
Now, let's test your knowledge. What the heck do you think this thing is? Is it A, an old architectural relic excavated from the lost city of Pompeii, or B, an antique print block that was used to print patterns on material, or C, an old Pennsylvania Dutch cookie mold. It was used to make Springerly Christmas cookies. Okay, make your guess, and I'll be back with the right answer after this.
Stretch your decorating dollar with Decorating Sense. Tonight at 8:30 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
Is that Reynolds Wrap foil I hear, Betty? You betcha, Pat. I'm making chicken packets.
Start with sheets of heavy-duty Reynolds Wrap. Place fresh ingredients on them, fold into packets,
Coming through.
and put them in the oven. Mmm, delicious.
Made it in less than 20 minutes.
Me too. Quick and easy packet cooking with Reynolds Wrap makes good food better.
No, allow me to clean up.
It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's all flexy and stuff.
Flexy.
No drugs. You know, like the kind that can make you feel all... So you're stuffed up, and you put this thing in your nose, and it opens you up, you know? It's like boing.
Yes, dear. Boing. I can breathe again. It's magic.
Looks kind of funny.
Belle, don't go there.
Breathe Right nasal strips for instant relief of cold and allergy stuffiness. Breathe Right, right now.
Order now. HGTV invites you to an incredible Saturday night of decorating tips, ideas, and inspiration. Tonight...
Hi, I'm Joan Steffen, and on the next Decorating Sense, we will finish off a combination kitchen and family room, giving it a woodsy country look with honeysuckle vines and oak leaf stands.
Then at 9, room by room will make an old bedroom new again. A whole night of shows that are just your style. Design Time Saturday night. Tonight, only on Home and Garden Television.
Well, have you decided what the heck this thing is? If you guessed B, you couldn't be more right. It actually is an old wooden print block that was used to make patterns on material. Sells for around $100. And now, let's move on to our next appraisal.
You brought in this book, this massive volume of Harper's Weekly. Now, how did you come by this volume?
We have a family farm in Ohio, in Clark County, and it has been in our family since 1860. My great-grandfather went there from Pennsylvania. He bought the land and built the farmhouse. And these Harper's Weeklies have been on the shelf of the attic as far back as I can remember. I believe that they were originally his because the time frame would have been about the time of the Civil War.
Sure. Well, one of the fascinating things about this here, this is the 1863 volume, all of the weekly issues, and this is the way they would present themselves, is 1 week at a time, and often with a color picture on the front. Here's an interesting one right from the period. This is a soldier in the U.S. Army being shown how to use a mini ball gun. So extremely topical, right there on March of 1863. Here's another one equally topical. This is General Tom Thumb marrying his wife. This is their wedding picture, reproduced for the whole country. Tom Thumb was in Barnum and Bailey Circus. Now, so the topical nature is always important, but one of the other features that makes Harper's particularly desirable from a collecting standpoint are these kinds of pictures. Now, here's a double-page spread of done on site. This is the Army of the Potomac on parade as part of their training ground, and you can see it's a lot of men. This picture was executed by A.R. Waud, who's one of the second-rate, not quite as well known, not one of the very top artists of the period, but he did all kinds of pictures for Harper's during the war period, and they've been reproduced, and this is one of his magnificent ones. Now, one of the other pictures here is by a better-known artist. This is a very dark, gloomy picture of the Virginia in 1864, and this is done by Thomas Nast. So it's people that collect the artwork, that especially, not just the Civil War actions, but especially the artwork, that make these sought after, and these have even been reproduced, but you have the originals.
I see.
So a volume like this, even missing its binding, it's important that it's complete, and a volume like this can bring anywhere from $200 to $400.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So you have 3 volumes altogether, so you're probably looking at $1,000.
That's great.
And probably
unexpected.
A nice find from the barn.
I'll bet you were surprised to discover that people collect old copies of Harper's Weekly for the illustrations. It was the Life magazine of its day.
you've brought a wonderful, colorful piece of pottery, which is reminiscent of California pottery.
Thank you.
But indeed, it's rookwood. And can you tell us how you acquired the piece?
My husband and I purchased it at an estate auction approximately 3-4 years ago.
Okay. Well, as we said earlier, this is a piece of rookwood. The Rookwood Company was founded in Cincinnati, Ohio. And this was early in the 1800s, and they worked up into 1941. Now this is more of a production piece. In other words, it was mass-produced. There's no artist signature on here, but let's show the wonderful Rookwood insignia. We have the typical Rookwood design that they used prior to the 1900s, which has the flame mark, and that designated the year. After 1900, they didn't have room to put flames on the RP anymore, so they started using the Roman numerals. And this has a Roman numeral of 1924. So this piece was made in 1924. And then below that, we have the 2634, which was the design mark.
I see.
Now, we don't have an artist signature on this particular piece, and as I said, that makes it a production piece. And it is late in the Rookwood line of wares. You purchased it at an auction, and do you recall what you paid for it?
I think it was $185.
Well, Rookwood pottery is one of the most desirable. It's gotten very hot. And I would say that on today's market in a retail situation, you would be $450 to $650 on this piece.
It's wonderful.
So you have a good eye. You and your husband are doing a good job of picking up nice pieces of American art pottery.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, a little horseplay. And this painting is more than a novel work of art. Stay tuned.
BIG technology chips. Great buy. Good.
Big tech chips. Huh.
At SunTrust, our advisors believe investing should be based on individual planning, not the tip of the day.
Big tech chips. Buy now.
So if you're looking for solid financial help, call SunTrust. Smart investing starts here.
Well, I really can't say, Eileen. All I know is the stock is going through the roof. We've been robbed!
Need new furniture? Click on CozyHome.com, makers of premium furniture you'll only find online.
Hello.
What? You found the furniture?
It's yours now.
Keep it.
Up to here in off-road is no time to discover your truck's off-road package is little more than decals. When what you really need is a burly, overbuilt suspension. Solid steel and high-tech composite skid plates. Big, honking 17-inch wheels and special tires. The new and very different Dodge Ram Off-Roadster. It draws a new line in the mud. Dodge Ram. Different.
Cheez-It, made with real cheese.
Hey, which side of this are you supposed to use?
Ourhouse.com. We're here to help.
We're back at the appraisal fair, and now on to our next appraisal.
Hi, you've brought in a rocking horse. Can you tell me anything about it?
Sure. About 4 years ago, my wife was at an antique store in Richmond, Illinois, and she saw it. Went back the next day, and she bought it.
Okay, great. Do you have any idea what she paid for it?
I believe she paid about $200 for it.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the horse itself. It's handmade. It dates to about 1870.
Wow.
It was probably made in a rural area where readily available toys weren't produced. You will see here that it's in 3 sections. The legs were carved out of one piece, the body out of another piece, and then this. It has these wonderful leather ears, a tail made out of real horsehair, and then let's turn it over real quickly. And you'll see down here that it's pegged to hold these 2 back legs in. So it's nicely made, it's primitively made. So someone wanted to make something nice for their child. They made this horse, and it probably wasn't the fanciest one because there were toy companies making these at the time, but it served its purpose. However, today, it's probably worth more than the ones that the toy companies had made because it's become folk art, because it was made by an untrained artist. And it's interesting to see how utilitarian objects can become folk art after time. The naivete of it is wonderful, the paint job is wonderful, and also the construction of it is really good. Do you have any idea what it's worth?
Just what my wife paid for it.
Okay. In an antique store, it sells for $800 to $1,200.
Wow. Wow.
Is that a surprise?
Yes, it is.
Well, enjoy it.
Cool.
If you're a collector of international folk art and want to find out more about it, here are some books that can help. Folk Art of Spain and the Americas by Marion Ottinger Jr. is a general guide to the history of Spanish folk art. It has photos of classic pieces like these oil jars from the 1800s and this weather vane from the National Museum of Decorative Art. And here's a whimsical dish with a sun motif. Folk Art of Spain and the Americas is published by Abbeville Press and costs $49.95. You should also check out Norwegian Folk Art, The Migration of a Tradition by Marion Nelson. It gives a comprehensive overview of Norwegian folk art from the Middle Ages to today. Here's a 2-handled drinking bowl from the 1300s. This is a brightly patterned coverlet, and these linked wedding spoons from 1923 are carved from 1 block of wood. Norwegian Folk Art, The Migration of a Tradition is published by Abbeville Press and sells for $55. So if you want to learn more about international folk art, now you know where to go to look it up.
I can't tell you how happy I was to see this illustration walk in today. And I said to you, what about the HP? Can you?
Well, as far as I know, it's done by Howard Pyle, and it looks like pictures I've seen in Robin Hood. My father bought it at an auction about 10 years ago, so that's all I know about it. I don't even really know how much he paid for it, but...
Well, I grew up looking at Howard Pyle's illustrations, as probably most people did. He's one of the great illustrators in the United States. He illustrated not only Robin Hood, but pirates is what I always think of with Howard Pyle. Let's look at the picture specifically. A number of things that Pyle did. First, I'm going to show you down here. Of course, here's the HP for his signature. He made sure that every picture that he did had an important psychological moment. He wanted to use his illustrations as theater. And so he would always choose a very theatrical moment, a psychologically powerful moment. Here we have him deciding, well, is he going to help him or not? And you see he's about going down for the 3rd count. He adds the foliage here, everything moving up so that
you are taken right back to this figure. You see all of the implements that he would have used here, being a good bandit. He didn't normally waste paper or space. He always made sure that anything he put on the paper had to count and had to contribute to the overall success of the of the picture. He's an interesting man. Taught for many years, but taught the most important illustrators in our century. And a big piece like this that would have been done for reproduction would probably be at least $3,000 or $4,000. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, isn't it fun? I didn't expect to see Howard Pyle walking in the door. It's nice. It stuns me.
Coming up next on the Appraisal Fair, our find of the day is ready for its big day. Stay tuned.
Resources about today's episode may be available by visiting our website at hgtv.com or by calling 865-694-7879, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Appraisal services are not offered by HGTV.
Tonight, it's HGTV's exciting hour of antiques and collectibles. Beginning at 7, At the Auction puts rare and unusual pieces up for bid.
I would think this probably would sell at auction for around $3,000. Wow.
Then at 7:30, Collectible Treasures looks at what's hot in the fascinating world of collectibles. Don't miss HGTV's exciting hour of antiques and collectibles. Tonight at 7 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
Dodge Ram's payload and towing capabilities are the stuff of legend, but there's a load more. Ram introduced the world's first quad cab. Ram's available Magnum V10 is the largest and most powerful V10 in a full-size pickup. And Ram pickups are the longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road. We could go on, and on, and on. Now get a $1,000 cash allowance on all new 2000 model year Ram pickups.
Going sideways. Folks, this is the Cybervator. It guides you through the computer store inside your computer. 11th floor, where the biggest computer brands are always on sale. Virtually speaking. Going diagonal, auctions hard to find items, and the Love Lounge? Oops, someone's mouse is wandering. Egghead.com, the computer store inside your computer.
Some days, you can hardly wait to get home. You've got plans. Big plans. Great taste. A certain style. A place that's all your own. You love your home. That's why there's Home and Garden Television. Your cable channel for remodeling, decorating, gardening, and crafts. HGTV, the country's only channel devoted to your home and garden.
Get in step with the latest decorating trends with Design at 9. An hour of design ideas, information, and inspiration that are just your style. A different lineup every weeknight with hosts you know and projects you'll love. Whether you're in the mood for an affordable makeover or in the market for an incredible overhaul, let our experts get your decorating project off on the right foot. Design at 9. Weeknights at 9. Only on HGTV, Home and Garden Television. Imagine what you can do.
Now it's time for our unique find of the day. It's a Victorian wedding dress. What do they say about weddings? Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. We'll find out. This is absolutely wonderful. Now, it was in your family?
Yes, this belonged to my great-grandmother. And we think that she got married sometime between the 1875, 1880. And my aunt had kept it for a number of years. She passed away, and it's now come down to me.
I think that's terrific. Let's take a look at it.
Okay.
Very pretty lace, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it has several pieces to it?
I believe so, yes.
So this is the undergarment.
The underblouse, yes. I don't know about the underslip for the bottom of this. I think there was one that matched that.
Uh-huh. Look at the intricate design. I mean, just the design of the lace is something, isn't it?
Yes. It's all the handwork done on that.
Yeah. What do you know about your great-grandmother? Where did she get married?
I don't remember if she got married in Pennsylvania or in Minnesota. She lived in Minnesota.
Yeah. See, I think that it's wonderful when you can keep great sentimental memories of your family.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really nice.
It's really neat.
It's probably not terribly valuable, really. About $75 or something like that. There's no enormous market for lovely old wedding gowns.
No.
People don't wear them, obviously, and there's no great way to display them in a home.
No, not at all.
They are wonderful to have, and
but the sentimental value, something to pass on, history for the family is kind of neat.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing it in.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Okay.
And that brings us to the end of our show for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Nestled in the woodlands along Oregon's northern coast is HGTV's Dream Home 2000. Chris Katzen Madden tours this unique contemporary home to be given away in HGTV's Dream Home 2000 giveaway. Enjoy the spectacular views from every room in this custom-built home. HGTV's Dream Home 2000, a special presentation, premiering Sunday night at 9 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
Welcome to Appraise It. I'm Steve Walker, and we are here at Butterfield & Butterfield, an auction house in Los Angeles, where people have come from all over to have their prized possessions appraised. Now let's join Jan, who's in Northern California.
And I'm Jan Yanahiro in San Francisco. Many people have just talked to the experts and learned the history behind their cherished antiques. We'll hear some of their stories in just a bit. But first, here's what else is on today's show.
Porcelain-mounted furniture has become very popular. We'll show you some small pieces that carry a big price tag.
Plus, these two pieces of art glass are both of good quality and condition, but one of them is worth twice as much as the other. We'll show you why.
And we'll find out what Loretta, our treasure hunter, has brought in from her treasure quest to be appraised.
And as always, we'll take a look at the ordinary and extraordinary things brought in today on Appraise It. A lot of very fine items coming through the door today in Los Angeles, and Lauren has brought in this table that dates back to 1810.
Yes.
How long has it been in your family, do you know?
Well, I imagine since it was born, or, you know, since it was created. Came from my great-great-grandfather's house in the state of Maine.
Do you remember it being around the house when you were growing up?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? Well, it's a candle stand, and as people can probably see, the top is flipped down right now because it's a flip-top candle stand, and it's in the Federal style. And let me go ahead and flip the top into position. They pulled this out of the corner when they were ready to set something on it, maybe by their armchair by the fire. And the one thing that it's a big tip-off that it's in the Federal style is the fine form on the legs. Also a nice detail on this table, it's mahogany by the way, is this nice inlaid work all the way around the edge of the tabletop. The cabinet maker really took pride in his work, obviously, back there on the East Coast. What was the appraisal on it today?
8 to 1200.
Were you surprised?
Quite.
Yeah? You also told me you thought maybe it even could have gone higher.
Yes, you hear all these fantastic tales.
Well, I think you did really well just preserving a nice piece of furniture like this. It's typically American.
So don't forget to mention the spade feet.
That's right.
Yeah.
The feet are the big thing that shows that it's in the Federal style. They call these a spider leg.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much.
Calling all baseball fans, Warren Palmer has brought us in some Joe DiMaggio keepsakes. Okay, now what we have here is you were the equipment manager, it says right here, on this charity baseball game, KSO versus the VIPs, for the PAL, the Police Athletic League.
Right.
And this is back in the 60s.
Right.
And you had Joe DiMaggio sign your program.
Right.
And he's wearing the jersey, which is right here.
Right here.
Number 5.
Number 5.
And you also have a baseball that he has signed. Here's his signature.
Right.
What is all this worth, Warren?
Oh, approximately $10,000, both items.
$10,000. That's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
It is.
Wow, is what I'd like to say. Now,
Yeah.
what do you plan to do? You want to sell all this?
I'm going to contribute to the PAL, and I'm going to contribute to the St. Vincent School for Boys. I'm a godfather, and that's for the boys at San Rafael. That's what I'm
planning to do.
So far.
You are a nice person, Warren. Can I say that?
Thank you very much.
And I hope you get every bit of the $10,000.
I hope so, too.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And now let's go into the gallery for our first appraisal.
Cliff, welcome to the Appraise It show. Tell me something about these fantastic Civil War books you brought us.
Well, thank you, Greg. These are the records of the Union Army during the Civil War. They date from the early 1862s until 1866.
Well, how did you acquire these?
My wife inherited them from her first husband, who bought them at a salvage auction some 30 years ago.
How many books like this do you have?
We have over 30 of them.
And they're all handwritten? Well, actually, what these are Civil War code books that were transcribed by the telegraphic operator during the Civil War, and the messages that were received in this big book, and you have 35 of them, and the small book is the decoder to get the messages. Now, I see also on this page you have messages from Abraham Lincoln and Civil War generals.
Yes.
Well, I believe these are really a fantastic find and probably unique. I have never encountered anything quite like these. Now, the value, have you ever had them appraised?
No, I haven't.
Well, the value will depend a lot on the content of the books themselves, and I believe just from this small sample here, and with 35 books, that you would probably have a real treasure trove of information. Offhand, without knowing what the contents of the books are, I'd say you have at least probably $20,000, $30,000 or more, depending on what is revealed in these books.
Oh, that's great. That is great. My golly.
Well, thank you for bringing them.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, let's go to our next appraisal.
Pat, you've brought us in a piece of Majolica today to look at. Tell me how you came about this piece.
Well, my husband and I, when we got married, we had stacks and stacks of things, boxes and boxes of things that had never been looked at, and we opened the boxes and found lots of things. We threw a lot of it away, but we did keep this, and because it was signed, I decided to keep it.
Good. Well, it's always great to keep something that appeals to you. That's the way it should be. Majolica, very briefly, became very fashionable in the 19th century, starting in England, and then France, and here in the States also became really popular. Always these wonderful, vibrant colors, and this one has this amazing sort of cyclamen-colored lining inside, which sort of tones in with the flowers, because they are actually little cyclamens there in relief on the body of the jug. And as you mentioned, it's signed on the bottom, and we always love to see that. It says made in France, and this is an interesting little date pointer, which I often point out. Stylistically, this is very much 1890s in the Art Nouveau style, but with the made in France, it has to be no earlier than 1920. So it's an interesting indication the way styles went on over a longer period than the books always tell you. So this, in fact, would have been considered a little bit old-fashioned in 1920, but still very popular. An earlier piece would be the most desirable, but this is in great condition, and pictures are always popular. And in today's market, we're probably talking about 125 to 175 at auction. So I'm glad you kept it.
Well, I plan to keep it.
Good. Well, keep on enjoying it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Appraise It, art glass is very popular, but not all glass is created equal. We'll show you what makes one piece worth twice as much as the other. And we'll see what Loretta, our treasure hunter, has brought in to be appraised by our experts when we come back.
Let's get together for a little romance.
the last time you were serenaded off the coast of Italy? When was the last time you discovered European hill towns, grand capitals, and country after country, unpacking only once? And when was the last time you understood what Europeans call the sweetness of living every day? Holland America, it's time.
Order now. So, you've managed to point and click your way into too much debt.
Why not point and click your way out of debt with a second mortgage from Ditech.com? Whether you have equity or no equity, good credit or not so good credit, Ditech has a second mortgage with absolutely no closing costs to help you lower your monthly payments now. So point and click your way out of high-interest, non-tax deductible credit card debt at Ditech.com.
Or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED. Ditech.com.
She's a decorating diva with lots of great ideas. She'll stencil, tile, or crackle anything. Whatever the design, just look for this design. Only on HGTV. It's Kitty, 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 Kitty B. All finished mosaic. Kitty B helps you create it. HGTV. It's Kitty, 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 Kitty B.
Kitty Bartholomew, your home tonight at 8, only on HGTV.
We're back now with furniture and decorative art specialist Angela Past. She has brought in two pieces of art glass, and if you take a look at them, they look very similar, but in fact, one of them is worth twice as much as the other. And we're going to tell you why in just a second. Angela, what kind of glass is this?
This is cameo glass, and the reason they look similar is the technique used to decorate them is exactly the same. The glass blank is painted with a resist in the form of the decoration, and it's put in an acid bath.
And that etches away the glass that isn't treated.
Exactly, and so it's exactly the same technique for both pieces.
Okay, now let's start talking about the piece next to me, this sort of yellowish brown piece. I took a look at it before we started, and I turned it around and upside down, just like you told me before, and I noticed something on the back here. It is indeed signed, and it looks like it says Gallet.
Exactly.
Who's that?
That is one of the best well-known glass factories in the Nancy area of France. And really, most people, if they know anything about art glass, will probably have heard of Gallet.
Gallet glass. And what's the value on this piece?
That one would probably sell for about $800 to $1,200.
Okay, and the piece next to you, also a nice example, but it's not Gallet, is it?
It's not Gallet, and actually the color is a little more desirable. This blue is always going to be more sought after by collectors, but it is by a factory known as Val St. Lambert, and you can see the signature here, this VSL, and they're less well known.
And what's the blue one worth?
I expect at auction it would bring somewhere between $300 and $500.
So in general, does it just come down to who made it, mostly?
I think a lot of the value is going to be in the name recognition. When you have the same thing, you've got the same landscape scenes.
In good condition.
In good condition, people are going to go for name recognition, which is unfortunate. It's a beautiful piece of glass.
All right, well, thanks for bringing them in today.
Thank you. Whether it's from an estate sale or her own attic, Loretta, our treasure hunter, always finds something special. Let's take a look at what she's brought in today to be appraised.
Loretta, I want to thank you so much for bringing this wonderful family heirloom, this cotton quilt, and I believe it's called the log cabin pattern.
That's what I think too, Randy.
And I know there's a wonderful story with this. Could you tell us something about it?
Yes.
Okay.
I may cry, but yeah, it was made by my grandmother, Acker. And I figure she made it in about 1910. I have about, probably 8 quilts that she made.
Oh, I see.
And this is one of the earliest ones that I have. And she lived in a log cabin. I brought a picture of her once in front of her log cabin on the show.
I remember that.
This quilt was made in that log cabin, and it's a log cabin quilt.
That's amazing.
So, and I just inherited it recently from my mom.
Well, great. What a wonderful story and a marvelous family heirloom.
Yeah.
These are very good examples of American craft art that is really appreciated today, more so than in the past, because of these wonderful, intricate patterns made from all of these various remnants of fabric.
I just noticed something. Never saw. The centers are all red.
The centers are all red.
She did have a design in mind.
And I noticed that on the back, you and I had discussed earlier, we think this is a flour sack.
Sure looks like it to me.
Which is really indicative of all these various patterns that were printed up, and they did use these for backing.
I know.
And it's a great quilt. It seems to be in wonderful condition.
And
it has been used.
It's been used and used and used, but you know, because it's cotton, you know, some of them disintegrate.
Right.
This didn't.
Well, what do you think it might bring it off?
I haven't the vaguest idea, Randy.
Well, I don't think that's your focus today.
Not today.
But I can tell you that for quilts of this condition and size, normally they bring between $300 and $500 at auction.
Oh my, that's wonderful.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
And I think you have a great heirloom.
Oh,
Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you. Thanks, Randy.
Now let's take a look at another appraisal.
Hey, Walter. By the way, thank you very much for coming here to Butterfields and Butterfields to show me some meteorites.
Oh, sure.
Actually, can you tell me a little bit about these specimens that you brought?
Okay. I bought these two iron ones on the sides at the Fossil and Rock store. And the one in the middle was given to me as a gift, and his father was a geologist.
Okay. Well, you know, in looking at both these specimens, or actually all three of these specimens, you could tell that the two on the either side are iron meteorites, and actually that nickel iron. The nickel content is very low, about maybe 3 to 5%, but it's very common to take an iron meteorite and slice them. This way, number one, to help identify the meteorite, and more importantly, it's just very aesthetic and very interesting. The one on my left, the one that's shaped as a square, is from Toluca, Mexico, which landed in the early 1900s. The one on the right is an Odessa meteorite, which landed in Texas. And again, they're very nice specimens because they're very clean. You can see the pattern, the etch pattern, which is called the Whitman-Staton pattern. Now, the specimen in the middle is very interesting because the specimen in the middle is not really a meteorite. Okay? Meteorites are asteroids that impact the Earth, okay, from outer space. What the item is on the center is called a tektite. Now, what a tektite is when a meteorite hits the atmosphere, hits the Earth, pieces of the Earth goes flying up, you know, and then they come back to the Earth, going through the atmosphere, burning up, and forming a tektite.
Oh, I see.
Now, what I brought with me is I brought with me a complete iron meteorite, one that hasn't been sliced, and you could tell that it's a meteorite because of all the grooves and all the burn marks as it comes through the atmosphere.
Yeah,
but again, this is what the whole meteorite looks like. By the way, Walter, do you have any idea of how much these specimens are worth?
Oh, I would guess maybe $100 or $200.
Well, the slice of the Toluca, I probably estimate about $50 to $75. The Odessa meteorite slice is probably about $50 to $60 for that slice, and the tektite is only $10 to $15 because they find them in the Philippines a lot.
Oh,
and
I see.
in fact, they even call it Philippinite because that's where it was found.
Oh,
and okay, so again, I really would like to thank you for coming and showing me these specimens. I always love seeing meteorites and tektites. I find it fascinating. So again, thank you.
Coming up next on Appraise It. Furniture that is mounted with porcelain is becoming increasingly popular and valuable. Some pieces are selling for thousands of dollars. More when we return.
I'm Stephen Katzman, president of American Blind and Wallpaper Factory. We're America's largest factory direct dealer of first quality name brand blinds and wallpaper. We can save you a ton of money and ship most orders within 72 hours. Seen something you like at your decorating store? Call now and give us the details, or choose from our catalog and shop at home.
Call 1-800-382-7603 for your free American Blind and Wallpaper Factory catalog and free measuring guide. That's 1-800-382-7603.
Imagine a place where the colors are your colors and the space is your own. Imagine a place where you can uncover a treasure or create one yourself. A place you can plant a future or build a dream. Imagine a place called home. HGTV, Home and Garden Television. Imagine what you can do.
When we asked some denture wearers why they don't use an adhesive, they didn't have a lot to say. Don't need it.
My dentures fit fine. No problems here.
But after we gave them Fix-A-Dent, they just couldn't say enough.
Amazing, the difference. It's a great new feeling of security.
Comfort.
Confidence.
I just plain forget I have them. That's because Fix-A-Dent adjusts to the unique contours of your dentures and gums, forming a thin, powerful seal for a better hold than you ever thought possible.
I could just kick myself for not doing this sooner.
Find out for yourself what it feels like to Fix-A-Dent and forget it.
Nice try. Now get in.
Hate painting? Lowe's knows how to help. Lowe's has everything you need to get the job done quick and easy.
All at guaranteed, everyday, low prices.
Our paint experts can recommend the best paint for any job, like Olympic Ultimate Performance Interior Paint. It's the ultimate paint for any project.
When it comes to paint, Lowe's knows.
Performance nutrition in Pro Plan brand dog food takes your dog beyond just good health. He's radiant, robust, strong in body and spirit. Pro Plan. Feed the appetite for life. Hurry in now for Pro Plan bonus bags. Get 10% more Pro Plan free.
We're back with furniture and decorative arts specialist Jeff Smith. Now, you've brought us some porcelain-mounted furniture, which has become, I understand, very popular and valuable in the last few years. In fact, did I hear this correctly, that you sold a writing table for $2.7 million?
I didn't sell it, but it did come in through our doors and eventually was sold for $2.7 million last year.
A porcelain writing table.
Yes.
So, number one, why is it so popular and why has it become so valuable?
Well, porcelain is expensive, as we know. And in the 18th century, porcelain mounted on furniture was considered like having jewels on furniture. And that's why it is rare, it's fragile, and very expensive even when it was made. In the 19th century, the Sèvres factory started producing these same types of plaques again in the same quality to mount on furniture being done, and some of it was done just as finely as it was done in the 18th century.
Let's take a look at this particular piece right here.
Well, this is a small liquor cabinet, a cave à liqueur. Now, it has nice porcelain mounts, but of a modest quality and a modest sort of casting along the bronzes. You're probably looking about $4,000 to $6,000 here.
And this piece, this is gorgeous, by the way. This is my favorite.
This is a gem. This is an absolute gem. It has a tray top, porcelain top. The mounts are almost the quality of gold jewelry. It is an exquisite piece. You can expect that this will sell somewhere between $40,000 to $60,000.
$40,000 to $60,000,
Yes.
okay. And this looks like, you know, a jewelry box.
It's actually a portable writing desk. And it's beautifully done with figurative plaques. The quality is the best as far as painting. Again, the same period of all of these. And that you're probably looking somewhere between $7,000 to $9,000.
Well, we're going to be looking very carefully at these. Thank you for bringing them in, Jeff.
You're welcome, Jan.
Now, let's go to another appraisal.
Sydney, thank you for bringing this painting in to us today. What can you tell me about it?
Not much. I acquired this and quite a few other things from my sister, and I have no idea. Nothing about it. I can't tell you anything about it.
Okay, well, it's what we refer to as a contemporary painting. It's not particularly old. It was probably done around the 1970s or so, and it's by an artist by the name of Wade Reynolds, who's a California painter. I think at least for some time he lived in Sacramento. His works are mainly sold through commercial galleries that sell his pieces on a retail level. At auction, his works have yet to really start to develop a market. They're a little too new. Most auction pieces are older, 19th century, early 20th century pieces. So as a contemporary artist, the name recognition is not that strong. So as a result, the prices for such works are not that high, typically. Any guesses on what you feel the value of it might be?
No idea.
I figure at auction, it probably would bring somewhere around $400 to $600. That would be my take on it. And thank you for bringing it in.
Well, thank you.
Now it's your turn to appraise it. This pair of covered porcelain urns is designed to hold potpourri. They were made in the 1930s, have perforated covers, and are decorated with scattered roses. Knowing this, would you appraise the pair at $300, $1,300, or $3,000? The answer when we come back.
Resources about today's episode may be available by calling 423-694-7879, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, or visit our website at www.hgtv.com.
Is that Reynolds Wrap foil I hear, Betty? You betcha, Pat. I'm making chicken packets. Pat. Start with sheets of heavy-duty Reynolds Wrap. Place fresh ingredients on them, fold into packets, coming through, and put them in the oven. Mmm, delicious.
Made it in less than 20 minutes.
Me too. Quick and easy packet cooking with Reynolds Wrap makes good food better.
No, allow me to clean up.
Wine.com, our experts make sure every wine we carry is a good one. Guaranteed. Wine.com, the best of wine.
For everything she's been, everything she is, and everything you'll be together. The 3-stone anniversary ring. For your past, for your present, for the next 1,000 years. A diamond is forever. De Beers.
At the Home Depot, we can help you make something great out of a little lumber. Or a can of paint. Even a few pieces of ceramic tile. We can also help you make something great out of yourself. Join one of America's most successful and admired companies. Join the Home Depot. If you like improving things, have we got a job for you? The Home Depot. Great careers built here. Call us toll-free.
This Daily Almanac is brought to you by Garden.com.
Many areas of the country are getting hit with snowstorms this week. If you do go out and get stuck in the snow, stay in your car and wait for help. Turn the engine on for 10 minutes every hour and put your dome light on while the engine is running. Make sure your tailpipe is clear so exhaust fumes won't back up in the car. Also, keep a window open slightly while the car is running to circulate fresh air.
So how did you appraise it? This pair of covered porcelain urns is designed to hold potpourri. They were made in the 1930s, have perforated covers, and are decorated with scattered roses. Did you appraise the pair at $300, $1,300, or $3,000? If you guessed $300, you are correct. The quality of these potpourri urns is only mediocre, and the gilding was not well applied.
Hey, if you stick around to the end of the show, you can always count on seeing something extraordinary. Today, it is a movie poster with a larger-than-life price tag attached. Entertainment specialist, entertainment memorabilia specialist, Michael Schwartz is here. And you have brought in a poster from King Kong, a movie that a lot of people have seen. Very famous film.
It's from 1933, Steve, and it has the monster, the king of all movie monsters, depicted on it. It is what we call an insert poster. It's 36 inches tall by 14 inches wide. And posters are printed in various sizes. Right. This is just one form, and it is the only insert we have ever seen.
That's really the key that our viewers should realize leads to the extraordinary price tag. Right. Even though it's not a large poster, it has a large price attached. What is the appraisal on this?
It is estimated at $20,000 to $30,000.
Wow. You like the art on it?
The art is wonderful. It has a kind of menacing image of Kong on top of the Empire State Building, holding the heroine Fay Ray, and it's just classic from a classic film.
And in good condition.
It's in very nice condition. It has been paper-backed. but it looks exceptional now.
All right, well, thanks for bringing it in.
You're welcome.
Once again, we're out of time, Jan, but I have to say we've seen some extraordinary things today.
Thanks, Steve. And that's it for us in San Francisco. As we leave you, here's another look at some of the precious items that were praised today on Appraise It.
Nestled in the woodlands along Oregon's northern coast is HGTV's Dream Home 2000. This unique contemporary home will be given away in HGTV's Dream Home 2000 giveaway. Don't miss HGTV's Dream Home 2000, a special presentation, premiering Sunday night at 9 on HGTV.
Imagine what you can do when you order the HGTV Ideas magazine. Every issue is filled with ideas, inspiration, and information for your home and garden. Plus, every issue includes detailed program listings. To order, visit our website at hgtv.com or call 1-800-340-5898.
You're watching HGTV's exciting hour of antiques and collectibles. Coming up next at the auction.
Sit back, relax, and learn about this painting. Coming up at the auction.
Showing here.
Fair warning. First period coffee pot. Sold for $1,600 to the cute young couple, panel number 338.
I'm Leslie Heinman, and welcome to my auction house. We're in a room that's always full of wonderful old things like this that change from week to week. And this is a program that takes you into the world of auctions and antiques and shows you what they're all about. You get a close-up look at treasures of every sort before they come up for auction. Then you go to the auction itself and see what they sell for. And 50 is bid, 600, and 50. On this show, we'll also thumb through some rare books and show you how to spot a first edition. We'll take you to an appraisal session and watch as people discover how much their stuff is worth. And I've picked out some special things to show you, so join me and we'll take a look around. You know the words to Jingle Bells, dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh? Well, this is a real thing. Come and take a look at the front. It was probably made in 1811, and the owner's initials were probably FLF. He may have been a farmer because this sleigh is not an example of elegant city transportation. It was made for snowy country roads. It's handmade and hand-painted with iron fittings. It has an elegant, graceful form, but it's not finely crafted. It was designed for rugged, everyday use. Although it's rather low to the ground, the curved shape and front board, together with the use of a carriage blanket, would have shielded the passenger from the cold. Of course, nobody's going to ride off in this sleigh today, but like many things from our past, this is a charming reminder of days gone by. And for that, we expect it to sell for between $600 and $800. Let's see who rides off in it. Lot number 97 is the Continental Carved Hardwood Sleigh, and we will start the bidding for the sleigh at $600. I have $600 to I have $650. At $650, $700 standing. I have $750 to the order bidding $800. I have $800. I have $850 here. We bid $900. At $900 standing by the post, do I have $1,000? At $900 bidding $1,000. At $900 standing to you, sir, at $900. Fair warning, selling at $900. Sold to you, sir, at $900. Thank you. And your number, please? 307. I love that sleigh.
I do too. It's terrific.
How did you decide to buy it?
My wife and I were walking by the window, and I said to her, we've got to have it. So we made plans, came down, never thought we'd get it.
Where are you going to put it?
Going to put it literally in the barn, and we have a number of sleds. I collect sleds.
That is so great.
It'll be great. I collect
Do you know what kind of sleigh it is? It's a one-horse open sleigh.
Oh, well said.
Did you know that?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I did. And there's one, and we have one that was from Vermont that has, they used to take the maple syrup and they put it in the back. So this will be really terrific right next to it.
That's great. Do you know the words to Jingle Bell?
I don't. I can't
Oh,
sing.
you do,
You
too.
do? Go ahead. I'll sing it if you'll
No,
sing it.
no,
No, I'll do it if you'll do it.
Okay. Maybe we'll convince him to sing Jingle Bells next time. Everyone has a favorite old book, and it's only a short step from being a book reader to becoming a book collector. Collectors seek out books at book sales, from dealers, and even at auctions. This is Tom Joyce, a rare book dealer here in Chicago. Tom, a lot of people go through cartons of old books hoping to find a first edition. In fact, we have first editions here. Now, what is a first edition and exactly what makes it valuable?
Well, every book has a first edition, Leslie, but not all first editions are the same. First edition is all of the books printed in the original run through the press. And I have one here that's rather dear to me because it's by James Joyce. This is his famous book, Ulysses.
Right.
And it's easy to identify because it's from Paris, 1922. But on the next page, it has the limitation that says it's one of 1,000 copies, and it's numbered.
Now, how do you know how valuable that is?
Well, then you have to look it up in auction records or dealer sales catalogs. This is worth anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, depending on condition.
Let's look at something a little more simple, like this Hemingway.
This is Hemingway's Across the River and Into the Trees.
And how much would that be worth?
This copy is about $85. And it's easy to identify as a first edition because the different publishers mark them differently. And in this case, Scribner's marks it with this capital A on the title page.
And so is there a book that tells you that if you see this book with one of these A's, it's a first edition?
Maybe the chief one is this one called the First Editions, A Guide to Identification.
Okay, and you can get this anywhere.
This is available generally. It's in print. It's about $29.
How about this? This looks more like, I think, what people think a first edition looks like.
Well, this is a wonderful copy of Charles Dickens' Bleak House. It's published 1853, and it was published in London. This was preceded, though, by a magazine version, where it came out in parts. And then in each of the parts, they would reproduce part of the text and part of the illustrations. When they finished writing all 20 parts, then they brought it out as a book, and that's what this is. So this is the first book edition in a contemporary binding. It has a new spine, but it's a very handsome volume, and it's about a $200 book.
How do you know if a first edition really is a first edition?
Well, sometimes you can be fooled because a book like this, The Old Man and the Sea, this is a wonderful copy that would be worth maybe $400 if it were the true first edition. But when I open it, I see that there's no price on the dust jacket flap.
And the first edition would have had a price.
It would have a price. And then when I look on the back, I find out that it has this mark and this indentation, which is the mark of a Book of the Month Club book. Or sometimes it's a square, sometimes it's a black dot.
So even though it says first edition inside, it's not necessarily first edition.
That's right.
What do we have over here?
Well, over here we have a new edition of Moby Dick, which is illustrated by Leroy Neiman.
It's huge.
It's a large, full leather binding, and it's an illustrated edition.
Is it a first edition?
It's a limited edition of 1,500 copies. And
it was made as a decorative book for collectors.
And it's signed by Neiman on the art, and it's also signed by Jacques Cousteau, who did the introduction.
Right. And how much would something like this cost?
This was published at $450, and today sells for about $1,000 or sometimes $1,200.
Amazing.
Now something a little older, this is one of my favorite books. It's a Martin Luther collection of his work. It has clasps, which keep the book safe. This is from 1575, and it actually is unusual because it contains more than one book. This has another piece from 1574, which has little notes by a contemporary reader.
And how many would have been printed of this at the time?
This is unique.
A lot of work, huh?
Well, actually, no, this was assembled in pieces from different publishers. So there's probably no other book like this, and on the back it has another stamp.
Now, where would you have found something like that?
This book came out of a private library from Europe.
It's wonderful. And is it worth a lot of money?
It's worth about $1,500.
And this is a curious one. This is the Emerald City of Oz, and it's the first edition, and I know that because of the sparkly ink that they used in the emerald green. They dropped that out of the later edition. In wonderful condition, this is worth probably $3,000 or $4,000. This copy, unfortunately, has been hurt a lot, so it doesn't have that kind of value. But it shows you that you could buy the first edition in a book like this for that maybe has some defects. You're not paying top dollar, but you don't have to be wealthy to collect good old books and have a collection that you'd enjoy.
And I think it's a wonderful thing to collect.
Well, there's so many different kinds of books. There's something for everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tom. I think this was really interesting. It's good to know the language when you're in the world of auctions and antiques. And it's not always English. Here's some French. This is called a duchesse en bateau, which means a lounge chair shaped like a boat. It was often anchored in a lady's boudoir or the private sitting room of a home. Voyeuse is the name for this little French chair. It was designed for sitting and watching a card game or for gazing out a window. It has a padded top so you can rest your elbows while you watch, like this. This enormous French sofa is called a confidante. The triangular seats on the sides make it possible for people to sit close to each other and whisper secrets. The lavish grand style goes back to the time before the French Revolution. And you heard it at the auction.
Great old campaign buttons coming up. Vote to stick around.
Brought to you by Strong Investments. You're one call away from a strong portfolio.
It's taken thousands of hours of work for us to reach these numbers. But for you to reach us, all you need is this number. 1-800-4STRONG. You're one call away from a strong portfolio.
So, you've managed to point and click your way into too much debt.
Why not point and click your way out of debt with a second mortgage from Ditech.com? Whether you have equity or no equity, good credit or not so good credit, Ditech has a second mortgage with absolutely no closing costs to help you lower your monthly payments now. So point and click your way out of high-interest, non-tax deductible credit card debt at Ditech.com.
Or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED. Ditech.com.
When I heard those whites had this iron during challenge, how can I say no? It's a white solid and a perspirant, but it goes on clear. And this stuff really lasts, guaranteed. So take the challenge and see for yourself.
HGTV is setting the mood for an unforgettable week-long Valentine's celebration. All next week, we'll bring you shows and specials dedicated to matters of the heart. Create a simply decadent chocolate dessert. Learn how to grow the perfect rose. Even design your wedding dress and accessories. It's an entire week of romance.
Romance Week on HGTV.
All next week on Home and Garden Television.
This picture was painted 100 years ago, and I think it perfectly captures the feeling of a quiet English afternoon. There's a peaceful feeling about the picture, and a sense that the young woman is totally absorbed in her book. She's wearing an outfit just right for a late spring afternoon. All the details of her clothing are carefully painted. Notice the flowers on her hat, the lace on her shoulder, the gauzy sleeves, her tiny, delicate shoes. She's sitting on a garden bench surrounded by spring flowers. The patches of flowers are bursting with color, and the grass is a vibrant green. The chimneys in the background give a sense of the world beyond the garden. And the hazy, overcast sky sets a mood of tranquility. In today's hectic world, the quiet charm of this painting seems especially appealing. We expect it to sell for $3,000 to $5,000. Let's watch. And we'll start the bidding. A lot of interest in this picture. We'll start the bidding at $3,000. I have $3,000. Do I have $3,500? $4,000, $4,500, $5,000, $5,500. Bidding 5,500. I have 5,000. 5,500 to you, sir. 6,000. 6,500. 7,000. 7,500. I have 8,000. Bidding 8,500. At 8,500. At $8,000 here. At $8,000 to the order bid at 8,000. Selling here to the order bid at $8,000. Fair warning, selling at 8. Sold for $8,000 here to the order bid. The painting sold to an art collector from Wisconsin who fell in love with it when he saw it at our exhibition. Since he couldn't come to the auction, he left us an order bid for me to execute on his behalf. And when I pointed to myself during the auction, I was actually bidding for him. Here's how the process works. An absentee bidder fills out a form showing which items he wants to bid on and how high he's willing to go. Picture will start the bidding. During the auction, I have a record of order bids in front of me, and I only bid up to the limit set by each client. Now, let's take another look at the auction you just watched, and you'll see what I mean. When I gesture to myself, I'm bidding for the order bidder. Now the bid is going back and forth between me and someone in the audience. 7,500. I have 8,000, bidding 8,500. I only bid until the client gets the item, which is not always as high as the limit they've set. That means even though they're willing to pay a higher price, they may get the item for less. Sold for $8,000 here to the order bid. This is a handmade Venetian glass dessert service made on the island of Murano off Venice, Italy. Wouldn't it be fun to use it sometime for serving lime sherbet and key lime pie? This swirling pattern is made possible by the way the glass is made. Murano glass uses soda ash instead of lead. Lead glass sets almost immediately, but soda glass allows the glass blower more time to create patterns and apply decorations, like these tiny roses on the stem. These white swirls are made by using a technique called latticino, which creates the milky color. This set was made about 1920 when Murano glass became popular. Tourists brought it back home as souvenirs but didn't use it, and it's making a comeback as a collectible today. Because they are hand-blown, each is slightly different. The set includes 16 sherbet cups and 17 dessert plates, and the color really draws your eye. We expect it to sell for between $400 and $600. Here's the auction. And we'll start the bidding here at $400, which I have to the order at $400, $425, $450, $475, $500, I have $550, bidding $600. $600, I have $650, $750, I have $850. $900 to my order, bidding $950. $900 to the order, bidding $950. I have $1,000, $1,100. I have $1,000 here to the order bid. It's against you to the order at $1,000, we bid $1,100. At $1,000, then selling to the order at $1,000. Fair warning at $1,000. Sold to the order at $1,000.
This dining room table goes on and on and on and on, and we'll both be here when you come back. Stay tuned.
Well, my business needed to reach people.
Hey, yeah, you with the big fan. Hey, come here, listen to this.
I looked into several advertising options.
Take it, come on. Hey, hey.
After weighing all the pros and cons.
Hey, how's it going in there? Let me tell you about my new business.
Yeah, I went with Kama.
Cable advertising of Metro Atlanta. With more than 35 networks reaching all over Atlanta, we can deliver your message effectively and affordably. Kama, bringing you into Atlanta's homes.
For the last 29 years, American Pest Control has been taking care of all your pest control needs. Generation after generation, we've been serving you with a smile. We work hard to make sure your family has the quality pest control services they need. We look forward to serving you and your family for generations to come. American Pest Control. Quality service, past, present,
and future.
We didn't invent the idea of handpicking 20 exceptional stocks for a powerful fund, but we have practically perfected it. Call 1-888-4STRONG today. You're one call away from a strong portfolio.
It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the
everybody goes crazy. Janice gets beyond the hype, digs deeper into the data, and finds out what's really going on. Janice even showed up in person at one company's sales convention for a reality check with salesmen who predicted their merger would alienate customers and sales would suffer. Janice stayed out of that feeding frenzy and didn't get bit. Get there. Janice Mutual Funds.
Every home has a history, a story to tell. From the historical to the haunted.
It can give you the chill, I'm sure.
You won't believe the secrets these walls reveal. If Walls Could Talk, Monday night at 10 on HGTV.
We're at our auction house in downtown Chicago, and people have made appointments to bring us their treasures for a free appraisal. Come see. Cradles are so wonderful, aren't they? Where'd you get this one?
At an antique/junk shop.
And you went out one day looking for cradles?
Oh, many days.
That's nice.
Many days. And we fell in love with this, and I don't know anything about it.
Right. Well, this is Richard Nelson, and Richard is head of our furniture department. Richard, what can you tell her about this cradle?
Well, I think what we have here is a classic example of an antique of tomorrow. It's a cradle that if you saw it from across the room, you might say, wow, it's a wonderful cradle from probably the 1840s. As I get closer and I take a careful look at it, it's actually of relatively modern construction. It's probably from the 40s. I don't know whether you added the piece of a particle board on the bottom, but that makes sense because, of course, you don't want that
Babies
to be
falling through.
Exactly.
But the finish that's on it, it's a machine-sprayed finish. And when you look at the way that the legs and so forth have been cut, it's a leg, as I say, from across the room that you might think was an early Victorian leg. When I actually get close and look at it and see the way that it's been cut out and the way it's been finished, I realize it's of the 20th century. And as I say, it's not terribly old. I know you would never, ever sell it. At auction today, it would have an estimate of $200 to $300.
Well, that's a great thing to have and keep forever.
I'm hoping that I will have grandchildren. I don't want to sell it, ever.
Political buttons are great.
I have an uncle who collected them, and he got me started when I was about 8. And I actually, a lot of them have been put away in a box for years, and I'm a notorious pack rat and decided to bring them back out.
Well, we love pack rats. We think they're great. That's good. This is Richard Nelson, and Richard is actually head of decorative arts here, but he knows quite a bit about political memorabilia as well. Richard, what do you think of these?
There's some real stars here. The one up here by you, Leslie, the Abraham Lincoln, that's quite amazing. It's in beautiful condition, and actually the detail is quite nice on the portrait. Well, I would say that's, you know, particularly rare that it still has the original silk satin ribbons. That's quite nice, and it's wonderful that you framed, or that they have framed it in this acid-free backing, so it's protected. That one's quite special. The McKinley one is also quite good because it also has the original ribbon, and it has this relatively rare and costly at the time metallic tassel. And also it has this great enamel piece up here. All of these would have been very, very expensive even at the time. So obviously this whole badge belonged to somebody that was quite important, and maybe even more important in terms of value. There are probably relatively few of these made. But the one I like, the very, very best of all, is this one, the little Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, it's just, I've never ever seen one like this before. And, you know, for most people, realize that the reason we have teddy bears today is because President Roosevelt refused to shoot a mother and her cubs.
And then there are these. These are not all that.
The more recent.
But these are fun. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but there's a great one with JFK. And
the Man for the 60s.
Man for the 60s, and then you see his image. And some of these are actually pretty funny when you look at them. Now, these are the sort of buttons that, especially the Nixon and Agnew, were probably made by the gazillion and passed out everywhere.
What about value? What do you think these things are worth?
These sort of things, like this collection, is probably $35 or something because they're quite recent. But obviously the stars of your group here are the Lincoln, McKinley, and the Teddy. Now, in my experience, probably the most expensive button that I've ever seen sold was around $5,000 as the top price. The majority for a lot of good, rare, early ones is in the $1,000 to $2,000 range.
This is one of the most versatile dining room tables I have ever seen. It has 7 sections, and there's just no end to the way they can be combined. The table has 3 leaves, plus 4 sections, each with its own pedestal. When fully extended, it's more than 17 feet long. It's made of mahogany, and with years of general use, it's developed this deep, rich color, which we call patina. It seems too big to be practical, but pedestal sections and boards can be removed as the number of guests decreases. Even the 2 ends can be combined to make an intimate oval dining table. The table was made in England about 60 years ago. Wouldn't you just love to have a table like this? It'd be perfect for you and 20 of your closest friends. We expect it to sell for between $4,000 and $6,000. Let's see who buys it. And we will start the bidding here at $2,800, which I have in the book. At $2,800, do I have $3,000? At $3,000 in the rear by the post, at $3,000, do I have $3,200? At $3,000 in the rear at $3,000. At $3,000, $3,200, $3,400, $3,600, $3,800, $4,000, $4,200, $4,400. At $4,200 in the rear, $4,200. Fair warning, sold for $4,200 to $302.
There's more good stuff coming up. Stay tuned.
HGTV invites you to an incredible Saturday night of decorating tips, ideas, and inspiration. Tonight...
Hi, I'm Joan Steffen, and on the next Decorating Sense, we will finish off a combination kitchen and family room, giving it a woodsy country look with honeysuckle vines and oak leaf stands.
Then at 9, room by room will make an old bedroom new again. A whole night of shows that are just your style. Design Time Saturday night, tonight, only on Home and Garden Television.
Clogged drains can be messy, inconvenient, and often just plain disgusting. Bob Vila here to tell you something every plumber in America hopes you'll never know. If you've ever called a plumber to clear a stopped drain, you know how expensive it can be. What you don't know is that in most cases, you could save hundreds of dollars and do the job yourself in seconds with a simple device professionals use called the Plumber's Secret. With the Plumber's Secret, you can keep every drain in your home flowing free for years to come for a lot less than the cost of just one visit from a plumber. Developed by master plumbers, the Plumber's Secret system is a unique formula containing a non-toxic gas that when combined with water expands 200 times its mass to jet-propel water through almost any blockage. To clear kitchen sinks and disposals, bathroom bowls and basins, slow-moving drains in bathtubs, sinks, and showers. Plumber's Secret system contains no harmful chemicals and is completely safe for you, your plumbing, and the environment. Use it in any kind of pipe material, residential or commercial. The Plumber's Secret works where and when you need it. Plumber's Secret saves you time and money. It's the fastest, easiest way to clear clogged drains around your house instantly, and the best do-it-yourself system I've ever seen. The Plumber's Secret comes with everything you need to clear every drain in your house, enough for 12 or more clogs. Call and order your Plumber's Secret right now and watch the high price of plumbing bills go right down the drain.
It could cost over $800 for 12 visits from a plumber, but with the Plumber's Secret system, you get 12 applications for just 2 easy payments of $19.95. Have your credit card ready and call the toll-free number on your screen. This special television offer won't last, so pick up the phone and order your Plumber's Secret today.
Call and order your Plumber's Secret right now.
Another great product from Interactive Marketing Technology.
Resources about today's episode may be available by visiting our website at hgtv.com or by calling 865-694-7879, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Appraisal services are not offered by HGTV.
You never know what's going to happen at an auction. People were lined up around the block to get into our recent special auction of the Schwinn family's bicycle collection. We sold over 150 bicycles, not all of them Schwinn's, including everything from this old high-wheeler to the classic Aerocycle to the millionth Stingray made in 1968. This bike, called the Dexter Bone Shaker, made in 1869, went for $24,150. And this Bowden 300, made in 1964, sold for $10,925. It seemed a shame to break up such a great collection. But guess what? We didn't. As it turned out, nearly all the bikes were bought by James Dickey, a private collector from Ohio who plans to open a bicycle museum. And it happened at the auction. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
On the next Extreme Homes, imagine living comfortably with no utility bills to pay. You can do it with Mother Nature on your side. See how one homeowner harnesses the powers of the sun and rain. Then, using beer cans as bricks to build a passive solar home. Extreme Homes, Sunday night at 8:30 on HGTV.
Nestled in the woodlands along Oregon's northern coast is HGTV's Dream Home 2000. This unique contemporary home will be given away in HGTV's Dream Home 2000 giveaway. Don't miss HGTV's Dream Home 2000, a special presentation, premiering Sunday night at 9 on HGTV.
HGTV's exciting hour of antiques and collectibles continues. Coming up next, Collectible Treasures.
Hi, welcome to Collectible Treasures. I'm Sharon Anderson. Dolls are a vast collectible category. There are nearly as many types of dolls as there are people who love them. Well, today's collector has gathered some of the oldest and rarest. They're Indian dolls, and each one has a fascinating story. We'll show you treasured Indian dolls that date back to 600 AD. Then we'll hit the road to learn about collecting and restoring vintage bikes. Plus, we'll see an important book for collectors that costs $5,000. All that just ahead. Welcome. When we think of dolls, we generally think of them as children's toys, but actually dolls have been around for over 25,000 years and were used in many forms besides toys. Some dolls were used for sacred or ceremonial purposes, while others were used for things like teaching skills to children. Take a look at these two dolls. They are very old Indian dolls. Look at the beautiful beadwork on these. This one even has a papoose on the back. Each of these dolls is worth around $2,000. The collector you're about to meet is fascinated with the history of dolls like these, and he's gathered a museum-like collection that represents many of the Indian tribes of the world. Indian dolls provide a rich history of the people who created and used them. Some dolls reveal ancient customs and religious beliefs, while others offer clues to occupations and activities of earlier times. These dolls come in a wide variety of styles and all served interesting purposes. The first dolls were prehistory doll-like figurines like this. Found in early archaeological digs around the world, they were probably originally used in rituals and as toys. Later, dolls became more elaborate and were also used in rituals, as teaching devices, as toys, and for sale and trade purposes. Collector Herb Dorr is a Native American who grew up on a reservation in Montana. He's been researching Native American artwork for many years, but he's especially interested in the dolls and their history. Do you call them Native American dolls, or do you call them Indian dolls?
I guess the true thing would be to call them by their tribal names, but there are today around 350 recognized tribes in the United States, and who would know the names of them? So they use Indian as a generic term. Most of the people that I know, most of my friends that are Indian, prefer Indian.
Do you remember the first doll you collected?
It was just very simple, no face, And I asked an elderly Indian woman at the time, why do you suppose so many of those Plains dolls didn't have any faces? And she said that was to give the child the opportunity to determine how the doll felt itself. If the doll had a smile on it, it was always smiling. And if it had a frown, it was always frowning. But if it had no face, that allowed your imagination to have the doll do whatever you wished.
Some dolls were made to teach a craft or a tribal skill to the children, and they were called tribal use dolls.
Right.
Like this.
And this one would be made to teach the art of basket weaving by a particular tribe. You can see in her hand she's got a hoop that she's bending. It's a grandmotherly type figure with a bonnet on, and she's seated. And she's weaving a basket, and she has all of the necessary paraphernalia in her other baskets to weave several different styles.
The detail is amazing. Look on the back. Her feet are sticking out with her moccasins. And speaking of detail, take a look at the elaborate costume on this Plains doll. The dentilia necklace is a sign of wealth. Dentilia are long, narrow shells that were found in the Pacific Northwest and traded all over the western United States. The tiny beads are Venetian glass brought over by explorers. You can spot the older pieces by them. The smaller the beads, the older the piece.
Everything on there is exactly as it would be made for an adult.
Real hair?
Real hair.
Human hair. Any idea what this would sell for today?
It'd be kind of hard to say. It'd be dependent upon where you sell it, but I would think that with the detail and everything in an Allard or a Sotheby auction, it could go somewhere between $3,000 and $8,000.
$1,000?
Yeah.
Herb also has ceremonial dolls like these cachinas, carved and painted by the Pueblo Indians in the Southwest. They're also considered teaching devices that represented spirits. These dolls were given to children as treasured objects to be studied, so the children could become familiar with the appearance of cachinas as part of their religious training.
At different times during the year, the winter solstice, the summer solstice, and different things, people would actually don masks and costumes, and they would have these dances representing these cachinas or spirits.
Herb's collection includes some Indian dolls that weren't even made by Native Americans. These are called skookum dolls, and they were made by various companies in the early 1900s. They're generally composite faces with synthetic hair, and their costumes are usually Pendleton-style blankets like these. These have become very valuable in the last few years. This one is Sitting Bull. He's a 12-inch size, and he's worth about $600. And they're even more valuable if they have the skookum label on the bottom of the doll's foot. And a really interesting feature. Notice on all of these dolls, their eyes are always looking to the right or the left. They're never looking right at you, even the babies. You may have noticed the swastika on the doll's blanket. This symbol is called a frilfot, or whirling log. It was used for many years by many groups of people, including Native Americans. But once Adolf Hitler adopted the symbol, it took on a sinister connotation. Herb, for people who are interested in collecting Indian artifacts, especially dolls, advice?
Well, I think knowing who you're buying from is the most important thing.
Are there a lot of fakes out there?
Very many, and if you aren't an expert and can't tell yourself, then I suggest that you go take it to a museum or an expert that can tell you.
Okay. Now you're holding something that you say might likely be knocked off. This is called a fetish?
Right.
What's a fetish?
Well, it's something that has magical powers, and it could be used for a lot of things, and for a good luck omen would be another name for it.
And this one is beaded, and it also, what's this hide?
This is buffalo hide.
Isn't that wild? It obviously is old. You can just tell by feeling it. And this
see, if you're an expert, you can tell by the hair and the beads and the hide.
What makes this fetish unique and magical? This is yours.
Right.
What's inside?
When you were born, they would take part of the umbilical cord, cut it, dry it, open the fetish, and sew the umbilical cord in, and then you kept this with you so you could be attached to your mother for the rest of your life.
I love that. As a mother, I love that. That makes it very magical, and the very first piece in your collection.
That's right.
Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Well, thank you for coming here.
I like the lesson.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Stretch your decorating dollar with Decorating Sense. Tonight at 8:30 on HGTV, Home and Garden Television.
This apple is a very healthy snack. But if you wiped it with a cloth dish towel, you probably added more germs than you removed. Fortunately, this apple was rinsed and dried with a strong, absorbent Sparkle paper towel. Towels like Sparkle can help reduce germs by up to 99%. After all, you only wanted her to eat the apple, right? This message brought to you by Sparkle paper towels.
Hey, Dad, you want to play some catch?
Sorry, son, I'm busy.
Wouldn't it be great if there were two of you?
Hey, Dad, you want to play some catch?
Sure, son.
One to do the things you want to do, and one to do the things you have to do. Well, Lowe's knows how to help.
With professional installation on most anything.
Flooring, doors,
lighting, and more. All by certified professional installers.
At Lowe's, guaranteed everyday low prices, which leaves you free to do the things you really enjoy.
Dad, when it comes to professional installation, Lowe's knows.
Welcome to egghead.com.
Going sideways. Folks, this is the Cybervator. It guides you through the computer store inside your computer. 11th floor, where the biggest computer brands are always on sale. Virtually speaking. Going diagonal, auctions hard to find items, and the Love Lounge? Oops, someone's mouse is wandering. Egghead.com, the computer store inside your computer.
Now, an HGTV on-location update.
The International Houseware Show 2000 is the place to see tomorrow's houseware trends today. The casual living movement is still alive and well at this show, where products are being introduced to help make the home a more comfortable and relaxing environment. We'll give you a sneak preview coming soon on HGTV.
Let's get together for a little romance. Romance Week on HGTV.
All next week.
Welcome back. Bicycles, a nostalgia item that most of us can relate to. I remember my first full-size bike, do you? Mine was royal blue. I think it was a Schwinn. It was very neat at the time. I remember I went all over town with my best friend Kitty. Well, one day, Kitty got a new English bike with gears. Well, from then on, she was way ahead of me. She pedaled up the hills while I had to walk my bike up. I just couldn't keep up anymore. Well, months later, I finally got an English bike with gears for Christmas. I couldn't wait to get rid of that blue Schwinn. Well, now I wish I had it back. It might be worth a pretty penny, as I found out when we met a dealer who collects, sells, and restores vintage bikes. He took us on a trip down memory lane for a lesson in pedal power. Everyone remembers their first bike, their favorite bike, or the bike they never had. Well, Evan Hatcher is a bike collector and dealer who restores bikes from all around the country and brings them back to mint condition. This, believe it or not, is an example of a bike that Evan can bring back to look like new. Evan, what is this?
This is a 1951 to 53 Columbia 5-star.
This is a mess.
It's pretty rough, but anything can be brought back.
What is this worth in this condition?
This one's a pretty rough one. I suppose $75, maybe $100.
Evan's plan is to strip the bike down to bare steel and replate all the chrome. He'll replace or fix any broken or missing parts and then paint it with the original detailing. It takes hundreds of hours and a few $1,000s. It is hard to imagine what a bike like this could become, so believe it or not,
Here's an example.
it could look like this.
Yes, it could.
How much would it cost to restore it to look like this?
That one, roughly $2,000, $2,400 to restore that one.
And it would be worth how much?
This one's worth in excess of $35.
Whoa! And this is a classic.
Oh, yes.
And a treasure.
It's the best bike Columbia ever made.
It's beautiful. This beauty is another Columbia 5-star. Made in 1953, it has front internal drum brakes. 1940 gave us patriotic coloring on this Dayton Twin Flyer. It had a monoshock frame, spring front, and built-in horn.
In 1939, this 2-speed Hiawatha Deluxe Aero featured Gothic styling, incredible handlebars, and battery-operated lights. Also from 1939, the Elgin Twin Bar was unique in its lack of center suspension. Dual headlights and twin taillights added class, while the seat was built for comfort. Even earlier, this 1935 Arnold Schwinn Majestic motorbike was designed to mimic a motorcycle, from the headlight to the horn to the last detail. Not all of the bikes that Evan restores are from the 20th century. Some are over 100 years old, like this race cycle from 1885. The bike has wooden handlebars, and at one time there were cork grips. The body is made of solid steel, now quite rusty. The warped and crooked wheels are also made of wood. Even though this isn't restored, it still has some value.
Oh, absolutely.
How much?
My customer paid $700 for it.
And you can redo this?
I can make it look brand new.
Speaking of brand new, look at this. This is extraordinary. Also from the same era?
Yes, same bike almost.
Look at these cork hand grips.
We rebuilt the old style cork grips.
Now, would this bell have been original? Ah,
Yes, it is.
tell me about this light. They didn't have batteries back then.
Oh, no, that's done with carbide. It secretes a fluid which you light, and it ignites and reflects through the reflector.
You light it with a match?
Yes.
Ah, a little more complicated than a battery.
That's true.
Now, on the seat, this is original,
Yes, the subcarriage is original.
but this you added.
Yeah, that's all new cowhide, done to the same design as the old one.
And I can't believe these wheels. On the other one, it was so crooked. These
Oh,
are
yeah.
perfectly straight, but they're also wood.
Yes, what we do there is we soak them for 3 days in water. Then I put them in a handmade press, and then I oven bake them. And it helps probably 80 to 100%.
Wow. Now, it looks as though you could ride this around, but you're saying probably no one is riding it.
Oh, if so, once or twice a year, maybe in a parade or something.
Because?
Well, it's a museum piece, and it shouldn't be ridden and destroyed or worn out too much.
Because it's worth?
Approximately $7,000.
About $7,000? Oh, it's a beauty. Yeah, that's okay, but now this is a bike. This is my husband Steve's bike from the 1950s, and to hear him tell it, he was the coolest kid on the block because he had this Schwinn Corvette. What he loved about it? The iridescent paint job in green, the two-tone saddle seat, and when you've got this much chrome, as he says, who needs anything else? It's a beauty. But as you can tell from the wheels, it's seen better days. I just wonder if Evan could bring this back to look like those bikes. Evan, can you take a look? Now, what do you think? How much would it cost to have this brought back to mint? To turn Steve's bike into a collectible treasure will require a lot of chrome, paint, and TLC. It'll also cost about $1,500. How much did this bike sell for initially?
I believe about $89.95 in 1956.
Oh, this may have to live in memory. Now, as I remember it, these bikes really weren't as comfortable to ride as the mountain bikes and the English bikes that came later.
Well, why don't you ride one of my classics? See what you think.
This one?
Yeah, go ahead.
This one?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Wow, this is from the 1930s?
Yeah.
Whoa, this is a movie star bike.
Yeah, it's a 37 Zepp.
Ooh, it's just beautiful. I like this bike. I know, I've got an idea. Trade your bikes. Wonder if Steve will miss his Schwinn. Well, unfortunately, Evan wasn't up for the trade, so Steve's stuck with his ratty old bike. Stay with us. More collectible treasures right after this.
BIG Technology Chips. Great buy. Good.
Big Tech Chips. Huh. At SunTrust, our advisors believe investment should be based on individual planning, not the tip of the day.
Big Tech Chips. Buy now.
So if you're looking for solid financial help, call SunTrust. Smart investing starts here.
Well, I really can't say, Eileen. All I know is the stock is going through the roof.
We've been robbed!
Need new furniture? Click on CozyHome.com, makers of premium furniture you'll only find online. Hello.
What? You found the furniture.
It's yours now.
Keep it.
I'll be right back with your new low Geico rate. Great. I can save you over $250.
Every week, 10,000 drivers switch their car insurance to Geico. We take all the necessary precautions. Geico Direct. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Busy day. What?
Flooding in South America continues as another 50,000 people are forced from their homes. A high-speed chase leaves 13 people injured in Gabriel County. And an armed gunman holds 3 people hostage during a failed carjacking in East Erickson. The stock market plunged in heavy trading as interest rates peered.
Everything's okay in here, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Howdy. So, you've managed to point and click your way into too much debt.
Why not point and click your way out of debt with a second mortgage from Ditech.com? Whether you have equity or no equity, good credit or not so good credit, Ditech has a second mortgage with absolutely no closing costs to help you lower your monthly payments now. So point and click your way out of high-interest, non-tax deductible credit card debt at Ditech.com.
Or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED. Ditech.com.
This is the part of our show where we feature rare and unusual collectibles. First, we're going to take a look at a fast-growing collectible, toy boat motors. What's neat about them, as you'll see, is that they're exact replicas of real boat motors. Check it out.
These toy outboard motors are exact replicas of real motors that were used on full-size boats. And they actually run if you attach them to a toy boat. Collector David Deasons told us about the history of these rare items.
These are toys from the 50s and early 60s. They're outboard motors. They were made exactly like Dad's original big outboard motor was made. And they're very, very collectible insofar as they're quite rare.
Miniature motors sold for $5.98 in 1953. Well, today they range in price from $100 into the thousands.
There are 2 in particular that have been extremely rare, and one is the Gale Sovereign. This motor was made for only 1 year. It's a beautiful motor, but it didn't run too well. So consequently, it was discontinued. It didn't sell too well, and the toy replicas of that motor are extremely difficult to find. Another motor that is interesting is the Oliver Tractor Corporation in 1957 made a outboard motor in an attempt to broaden their farm machinery line into marine products. The motor was ho-hum, not too good, didn't sell too well. As a consequence, the toy maker didn't make too many of them, and they discontinued it after a year.
If you can find a motor in a box, that will add up to 25% more to the value of your motor. The boxes were also exact replicas of those made for the larger motors, so find just a box? Well, boxes themselves can be worth $50.
The display that I have here is unique insofar as it was a store display. It was given to hobby shops, craft shops, where they sold these things, and it was a display that they could demonstrate how the motor actually worked. By the touch of a finger, they could start the motor, and the child or the father who was buying the toy for the child could see and hear the motor, and it was just exciting.
If you enjoy reading, you just might be a candidate for rare book collecting. How do you value a book? What makes it special? Well, John Peter Hayden, a collector of rare books, gave us a lesson.
Books are at different prices all the way around, having to do with the state, the condition, the time they were printed, the clarity of it, if the tissue guards are in place. A lot goes into a book. People constantly think that every book should be the same price, and they see a version for $35 of a, like, Old Blue China book, and actually a first printing of it might be $150.
This famous 4-volume set, The History of English Furniture, is worth $3,500. One reason it's valuable is that it was originally part of the private collection of the Vanderbilt family.
The Spanish Interior and Furniture book came out in the early 20s, 3 editions, and this is the 2nd edition that we have. The book inspired people, builders in the 1920s, to build in the Spanish colonial style. From the book, architects and designers drew inspiration to create the colonial revival movement in Spanish housing.
The price on this book? $1,850. And this book costs $5,000. Why so much?
The book on lorgnettes and lugnettes is the most important book that we know of. It was done in 1911 as an exhibition catalog, limited to 300 copies. This is copy number 43. And all exhibitions that have taken place since on eyeglasses and eyewear or spyglasses and lorgnettes have been based on this one book.
HGTV invites you to an incredible Saturday night of decorating tips, ideas, and inspiration. Tonight...
Hi, I'm Joan Steffen, and on the next Decorating Sense, we will finish off a combination kitchen and family room, giving it a woodsy country look with honeysuckle vines and oak leaf stands.
Then at 9, room by room will make an old bedroom new again. A whole night of shows that are just your style. Design Time Saturday night, coming up next, only on Home and Garden Television.
Oh, we're having chicken.
Try new McCormick flavor medleys.
Oh. We're having chicken.
Watch how McCormick flavors any meal.
Oh, meatloaf.
Oh. Meat?
Loaf.
Tantalize the taste of everything you cook. Look in the spice aisle for new McCormick flavor medleys. The same old meals will never be the same.
A lifetime with Iams.
Here, Casey. Here, boy. Oh, here, Casey. Come on, Casey. I'll race you.
Every day you feed your dog Iams, you help its chance for a long, healthy life. Iams is easy to digest, so more nutrition stays in your dog.
Come on, Casey.
Iams dog foods. Good for life. From the Iams Company.
Spring is almost here, and that means fresh new looks at Hancock Fabrics. Brighten your home with our entire stock of decorator prints, now 20% off. Save 30% on a special selection of home accents and accessories. You'll look stylish in Anchorage fleece prints, just $4.99 a yard. Our famous wall of calico prints are now only 2 yards for $5. Plus, all So Perfect quilt batting is 20% off. Brighten your lifestyle and save, too, this week at Hancock Fabrics. We're America's fabric store.
Everyone has different computing needs. So we built a whole family of computers for work, for home, and for those on the go. And whether you buy one pre-configured or custom build your own, you'll find they all have one thing in common: big value. CompUSA PC, a machine for everyone.
This week's information from Collectible Treasures is available on our website at hgtv.com, or send $5 to Collectible Treasures, Box 50970, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37950. Be sure to include the week number on your envelope.
Earlier in today's show, we saw a magnificent collection of Indian dolls. Well, as with many collectors, Herb's collection is so large that he's forced to store some of them. Well, I also have some dolls that are special to me. They're my international dolls from when I was a kid, but I have to keep them packed away. I just don't have the space to display them. So, what's the best way to store dolls? We asked the experts, and here's what we found out. They said, first of all, wrap your dolls in acid-free paper. No plastic. Plastic retains moisture, and moisture is the worst thing for dolls. Also, don't use newsprint. It'll bleed onto your dolls, and it'll ruin them. Now, if the doll has a breakable head, this is kind of interesting. You can take a disposable diaper and wrap it around the doll's head before you store it. And to keep the doll's clothes from getting crushed, take the tissue paper and put it underneath the costume. That'll keep the clothing from getting all matted down. And if your doll has a stand, be sure to remove it before you store. because the stand can leave rub marks or indentations on the doll or on the costume. Oh, and if your doll has eyes that open and close, store it face down. That way the eyes stay open and they will be less likely to tip back into the doll's head. And our final tip from our doll expert was this. Better than packing them away, store your dolls on a shelf where you can enjoy them every day. Thanks for joining us today. Hope to see you on the next Collectible Treasures.
Kitty Bartholomew Your Home explains why rethinking space can dramatically improve your home's look. Then Country at Home shows why folk art can be a creative and colorful home accessory. It's all part of Design at 9, Monday night on HGTV.